Everybody. Unfortunately, the soldiers and Marines are still very much a necessary part of what's going on here because they're worried that it's going to flare back up. And what do I mean when I say flare back up? I think it's useful to take stock of what actually happened in the city of Los Angeles over the past couple of months. So first of all, to set the table, we have a public official in Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who over the past few years have actively encouraged illegal migration into this community, have strained public services, have strained law enforcement, and really have offered generous benefits, not to American citizens, but to illegal immigrants to break the law, to come into our country, and to receive generous public assistance for having done so. What has that done? That has created an illegal immigration crisis, of course, facilitated by the policies of the Biden administration, and there is perhaps nowhere where that crisis has fallen harder than in the great city of Los Angeles. And, you know, I landed, when I saw this city, when I was driving through to come to this FBI building, all I could think about is what a great American city Los Angeles is, and what a great tragedy it is that we have allowed illegal immigration and rioting to destroy, I think, one of the great gems of American.
In Confederate states, I should say. This day, now known as Juneteenth, has become a profound commemoration of freedom and resilience. So I hope you enjoyed yesterday, and we are here today, and I'm ready for your question, shall we? Yes, Daphne.
Thank you so much. So on the 25,000 that you said the State Department has provided information to, is that U.S. citizens who are seeking information on leaving Israel, the West Bank, and Iran?
It's information in general. So it would be a combination, I'm sure, but it's a general information, conditions, perhaps departures as well, but general information.
Okay, and do you have any number?
Team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades.
So that's the announcement. So been telling you guys for the last, I don't know, year that with Biden's open borders, we're in a heap of trouble. We know that at least 5,000 communist Chinese, and we know that every citizen of China is automatically a spy of communist China. And we know that they buy oil from Iran and they pay in the yuan to get around the sanctions. So the sanctions, the oil embargo has little effect, and China needs their oil. China, Iran, Russia, India, and a lot of other countries that don't really like the United States that much started their own currency called BRICS. BRICS currency, a gold-backed currency like we should be in this country. And of course, we know that a lot of Israeli banks are behind our Federal Reserve bank system. So I've been telling you guys for a long time now that what this war is really about, it's about the currency system. It's about United States currency being the world's reserve currency. And I knew this was going to happen at some point or another. But the problem is the wrench that got thrown in the framework here. Hey, what's going on? What's the matter? You? Good seeing you. The problem is right now, the big problem is with these wide open borders and communist Chinese and a lot of Islamic jihadists who just walked across our border. They could have very easily snuck in dirty bombs and all kinds of nuclear material and set up sleeper cells all throughout the U.S. And I've been warning you guys forever that you need to be prepared. You need to stock up on ammo and food and everything else that you can. So I'm just going to try to cover this for you live, what's going on out there and give you my narrative of what I think is really going on out there, because you get the real news from me. You get the real news from me because I give you what's really going on, not the official narrative. I've got a lot of friends who are still in the Marine Corps. Units have already been activated. We're looking at some serious trouble, guys. I don't think this is just going to stop. These guys are Islamic fundamentalists, and they're pissed that we took out Syria. That's where they had a Shia stronghold. And all it takes is one or two crazy dudes with some machetes, and they can wreak a lot of havoc. But just imagine if they have their hands on a dirty bomb, just some radiation, they could contaminate blocks and blocks of cities. And this is my big fear. So let's see what the State Department says. This looks like this isn't live anymore, but this is what the State Department was just saying earlier.
Numbers that I will share at this time. Just as a reminder as well, while today is a bit different than the feeling of Tuesday, we are still in a dynamic where there are still hostilities, where there are still people in bunkers, where there is still a danger. Clearly, we've heard the statement from President Trump about his posture at this point. So we're still going to be careful for national security reasons, obviously, when it comes to what we can answer. So that's a number that I won't be able to give you.
I'm worried for my Marines now.
And we will not, we'll do one more, but then we will continue on here. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Just on Ambassador Huckabee's tweet, he said that the U.S. is working to get military, commercial, charter flights and cruise ships for evacuation. Have any of those organized by the State Department evacuated American citizens yet? And if not, when is that expected to start?
I won't give details from this podium, but we know that at each embassy, they are posting actions that they're taking. We know that the Israeli embassy is doing that. So you could go to either travel.state.gov and get to the Israeli embassy, or go there directly and you will see their statements. And I would urge you to do that directly when it comes to what the Israeli embassy is doing and what they've accomplished. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis chartered flights apparently for Americans in Israel seeking to leave and successfully got, I believe,
military struck. Breaking news now, the United States has gotten involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. President Trump says the U.S. military struck 3 sites in Iran, directly joining Israel's effort to decapitate the country's nuclear program. Trump posted on social media a little bit before 5 o'clock today, "We have completed our very successful attack," he says, "on 3 nuclear sites in Iran," adding all planes are now outside of Iran airspace. Now is the time for peace. The president plans to address the nation at 7 p.m. our time. Last night, the U.S. military moved multiple B-2 bombers from an Air Force base in Missouri. Meanwhile, more airstrikes were exchanged between Israel and Iran overnight. Reed Binion has the very latest.
As the Israel-Iran conflict extends into its second week, the two sides exchanged fresh strikes overnight Friday into Saturday. Israel targeted Iran's largest nuclear research complex, according to an Iranian official, while Israel said it killed two commanders of an elite branch of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Israel's military also said two Iranian drones managed to get past Israel's air defenses, a rare event, striking sites in the north and south. Meanwhile, President Trump says the clock is ticking on a possible diplomatic solution before he decides on U.S. involvement.
We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving him a period of time, and I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
But so far, there haven't been any breakthroughs during talks in Geneva and Turkey. Iran's foreign minister said his country won't negotiate with the U.S. while Israel's bombardment continues.
Iran is ready to consider diplomacy once again.
That's not going to happen.
And once aggression is stopped and the aggressor is held accountable for the...
Guy reminds me of Baghdad Bob. Remember him? Baghdad Bob, the guy who kept on saying, "Oh, we are beating the Americans. Hello." Hey, by the way, guys, I got the new Shure microphone. Tell me if you like it. I've got it in dark mode. I'm still kind of messing around with it, but I dropped the money because I had a lot of people complaining about my audio. Let me know if you like the audio, the way it sounds now. Hopefully I don't sound like I'm in an echo chamber anymore. Let me know what you think. Give me a bunch of ones if you like it. Give me a bunch of twos if there's something going on with the gain or anything you want me to adjust.
Crimes committed.
The foreign minister adding that if the U.S. gets involved in the conflict, it would be, quote, very dangerous for everybody.
Hey, Kurt.
Reed Binion, King 5 News.
And again, that breaking news, the U.S. has now gotten involved. Trump will speak around 7 p.m. our time. As the conflict continues, Iranian Americans in Western Washington are speaking out. Computer scientist Ali Musavi says he has no choice but to protest as his home country of Iran is under Israeli bombardment. He marched alongside dozens of fellow Iranian Americans in Kirkland this week in opposition to the U.S. government's involvement in the conflict. Musavi says he has already lost friends and family members.
I would say the majority of Iranian people want is a change that is brought by themselves. They don't want any external force, any external country to come and make a change inside their country.
The Israeli government says the bombing is part of a targeted campaign to take out Iranian nuclear sites. Iran, in response, has launched hundreds of missiles and drones at major Israeli cities.
So I've got it. I'm trying to mess with it right now, guys. So let me... Can't hear you over the video. Okay, tell me what now, though, guys. Tell me about the sound. Do I have decent sound? So I'm trying to adjust it. So I just picked up the new Shure mic. I dropped like $500, man. I got the SM7DB. Got the SM7DB. It's like the best one they have because I'm hoping that it's better. I'm trying to mess with it right now. I'll make that sound again. Okay, hold on. Yes, we are beating the Americans. Hello. You guys like that? So I'll tell you a little bit about my history. So when I was growing up, it was the 80s, and we had a bunch of Iranian students in my high school at Canyon High School in Anaheim Hills before I got kicked out. And okay, hopefully the sound's decent. So it sounds good. It's just quiet. Okay, that's not good. Well, I'm trying to get it up as high as I can for you guys. Let me see if there's anything else I can do. I mean, honestly, I just don't know. I'm going to look at the presets right now. I've got it in auto mode, so there's not a whole lot I can do. But I'm hoping that it's better than it was. Before, it sounded like it was an echo chamber. So, okay, you think it's good? What's the matter? Is it better than it was the other day? I mean, I just decided to drop the money, man. I was like, you know what, man? I've got all these guys telling me I sound like I'm in an echo chamber. So, okay, outstanding. It's a bit lower. Well, that's okay. Yeah, I've got it. So I've got it in dark mode. There's a couple different settings I can use. I can use natural. So hold on, I'm going to try natural. Give me a second. This is natural. What do you guys think of natural? I'm glad. I'm glad you guys like it. I figure I've been going live a lot. So now it's in natural mode. Hopefully you can tell the difference. So this is natural mode. Okay, now I'm going to try bright mode. So I did dark mode and now it's natural. Now I'm going to go to bright. So this is bright mode. Tell me what you think. Out of the three, which one do you like better? The first one? Give me a bunch of ones for the first one, which was dark mode. Give me a bunch of twos for the second one, which was natural mode. And give me a bunch of threes for bright mode, which is what it's in now. Okay, so you like bright mode better, guys? Number 3. I'm just waiting. There's a little delay before you start typing in your numbers, so it doesn't make me pretty. I know I'm an ugly guy, but I got my freaking cool shirt on, right? I got the badass. Man, I'm still in my boxers. I ran upstairs. I took my son to judo class. You don't notice much in mobile. You guys like natural? Okay, I'm going to go back to normal. Okay, here's normal mode. Yeah, I don't know if it's a volume setting on my computer, guys. I've got it maxed out. So Cannon likes number 3. He likes the bright mode. So, all right. So I'm going to stay in number 3 then. All right. It looks like, well, a lot of people are saying natural. Let me just see looks like 2 is winning, guys. Looks like 2 is winning. What's the matter? He's got me boxed in between 2 and 3. Yeah, on the phone you're not going to tell much, right stuff. And I also move the monitor around, so I have the chat bar here. Before I had the monitor over here, so I'm like looking over here at the chat bar. So now I've got the chat bar closer to the camera, so I can give you some eye contact. I didn't even have time to put on my blue light protection glasses. These are my regular ones that I wear when I practice law. So I'm kind of doing this kind of thing because I can see things close, but I can't see things far away. So when I'm looking at the screen, it's close. So I've got it in normal mode now. We'll keep it in normal mode. So you guys heard the live already, and that's cool and everything. We attacked them finally. When I was growing up, like I said, we had a lot of kids who had escaped Iran, and one of my next door neighbors was a former colonel in the Iranian Air Force under the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and I also read his book Answer to History. So I'm pretty well versed in what's going on in Iran and in the arguments for and against attacking them. So what happened is our CIA helped install the Shah. And we know that they interfere in other countries' elections. And many people say, and I'll cover this tomorrow, that the CIA also, they've gained so much power, they interfere in our own elections here in this country, and that our country is actually run by the CIA and not the actual president. A lot of people think that. And so Trump was sort of a wild card. The rhinos hate him. The Democrats hate him. And I was kind of shocked, to be honest with you. Chevy, good seeing you, brother. Thanks for supporting my channel as always, man. I love having you guys here. I'm assuming Chili's probably live covering this, so I doubt it. We're going to have a lot of people in here, but I have a different perspective on what's going on. Being a U.S. Marine and having friends who are in now and knowing that a lot of units have gotten activated, I'm really worried for our country. And the main thing I'm concerned about, hey, what's going on, James? Good seeing you, brother. The main thing that I'm concerned about that you're not seeing a lot of coverage about is the sleeper cells that probably walked across with Biden's 20 million illegal aliens that he invited up here with free cell phones and promises of free health care that you and I have to pay for. And I did a show the other day about how the black community, especially black males, are turning against the Democrats for doing that. So I've really had my finger on the pulse about the globalists and how they're the great replacement theory, how they're trying to replace the native population with people with very low IQs and peasants who are easier to control, like they've done in London and they're doing all over Europe. And obviously they're ignoring the natives and the actual people that have been there for hundreds, if not thousands of years throughout Europe and replacing them. And it's obvious what they're doing. And the biggest concern that I have right now, Cannon and Chevy, yeah, he attacked them. What's the matter, you? The biggest concern that I have is sleeper cells. And so I've been telling you guys now for years to stock up on ammo and food. And obviously right now is not a good time to go out. I hope you do have food. So The number one thing that I would tell you guys is get on over to the Army Navy surplus store and pick up as much non-perishable food as you can get your hands on. And I'm not an alarmist, I'm a realist, okay? With an open border and over 20 million people that walked across, no way to identify them, no way to know if they're hostile to the country. Well, we know a lot of them are, right? They're burning American flags all over LA and waving Mexican flags. And now I've discovered that the Communist Chinese Party, in part, is funding these riots with help from their allies in the Democrat Party, like Walmart, George Soros. And we know that they're all closely aligned with the CCP. We know that the CCP really started getting involved and paying off Democrats starting with the Clinton administration. And I've been warning you guys, look, these open borders, this is some scary shit. This is a problem. But let's get back into the history. So the history is that our CIA admits that they helped install the Shah. And because of that, there was an Islamic revolution. And when I was growing up, there were those hostages. There was a couple of Marine security guards at the embassy being held hostage. And it was a really big deal. And so we hated, as kids, those Iranians that were in our school with us until my dad is the one who told me about it. He was like, look, man, you can't hate these people. These are people who escaped. And so I sort of changed my attitude and I became friends with a lot of them. And one of them told me about his story. He was a former colonel. He flew F-4 Phantoms, I believe, for the Iranian Air Force under the Shah. And you're right about that, Yellow Cat. It's a real problem. Thanks, Greg B. Thank you very much. So because of that, I got to learn a lot about the Iranian people, and I found out that probably less than 20% of the Iranian people supported the Ayatollah. They're terrified of them, the way they treat women. Iran was a very liberal, progressive society. The women got to wear bikinis at the beach, and I was just really blown away to hear from these people who had escaped. And this guy had escaped through the desert, through Egypt. They lost everything. His whole family was executed and held hostage, demanding that he return. And you know that we protected the Shah in this country, and the Iranians demanded that we have to return the Shah to Iran, and if we didn't, that they would kill our hostages. And then it looks like there was an arms exchange, like weapons for the hostages under Reagan, and people were praising Reagan on his election night for freeing the hostages. And then we found out later under his administration that I guess Ollie North had brokered a deal down in El Salvador or Nicaragua to basically pay off the Iranian government and get our hostages out. So nothing's ever like what it really seems, right? And I also remember, James Forbes, that Ronald Reagan said when he boarded, I believe it was a private jet or Air Force One on at some point, that under no circumstances, I think it was during the debates, under no circumstances would George Bush be his vice president. And when he got off that airplane, I'm trying to find the clip, when he got off that airplane, he said, "I'm proud to announce that George Bush will be the vice presidential candidate." And of course, we know that he headed the CIA, and he was around when the CIA helped overthrow the previous Iranian government to get the Shah in there. And of course, most Iranians that I know would prefer the Shah over the Ayatollahs any day of the week. I mean, they hang people from cranes. It's brutal. Any kind of Islamic government is pretty brutal to their people, especially the women. And they just live in constant terror. So the reason why I wanted to do this show today is to sort of give you a little bit of the history, because a lot of people don't know, especially young people, about the history of the reason why Iran hates us. Well, they hate us because the CIA helped install the Shah. And the Shah was also very brutal to his people. But there was a lot more freedom in Iran under the Shah than there was under the Ayatollahs. And if we hadn't gotten involved, who knows what would have happened, right? We just don't know. And you're right. A lot of Iranians are Christians and a lot of them are Jewish. And in fact, as you guys know, I do personal injury law now. And I would say 99% of the personal injury attorneys I know who are Persian, they call themselves Persian. By the way, they don't even like to be called Iranian because they don't want to be compared to the Ayatollah, are Jewish. And there was a very large Jewish population in Iran as well as Christian. And the Shah was again, he was more of an agrarian, so he accepted everyone. They didn't try to push this Sharia law. And we just knocked out the Syrian government, which was Assad, which was loyal to the Shia. The Shia are about 20% of the Muslims, and then the rest are Sunni, right? And so they're pretty much contained to southern Iraq, and Iran. And they've been losing a lot of territory. And I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. I just got a text message from one of my friends who works for the government. I'm not going to get into who he is, but I try to keep my finger on the pulse that we may very well have used tactical nukes on Iran, which scares the crap out of me. So this is pretty scary stuff. And yeah, so what's the matter? You says Ronald Reagan was a sick, evil, corrupt, delusional SOB. They all are, though. Well, most Americans that I know were proud when Reagan was president, and they weren't proud under Jimmy Carter. Let me ask you guys, give me a bunch of ones if you were happier under Reagan, if you were around, and give me a bunch of twos if you were happier under Carter. And look, I'm not saying what's the matter you that either one of them were that great. But what do you guys think? A bunch of ones, Reagan, a bunch of twos for Carter. So in any event, what ended up happening here is Iran's national anthem is "Down with the USA, Death to America." So obviously, being an American, I don't like that. I'm still a Marine at heart. And anybody who says "Death to America" wants to burn American flags and wave foreign flags in our cities, I consider to be an enemy of the Republic. And so obviously, what's the matter? You don't like any of them, but I always try to go for the better of two evils. I mean, I'm pretty happy with most of the Second Amendment decisions that have come down due to the Trump judges. And I'm a Second Amendment guy. As you can see in the background, I've got my iron sights on my custom AR that I built myself with my own hands. And I got a little mini 14 down there. I don't know if you can see it. So I always try to be well armed and ready to go. They're all weasels. That's right, James. They all are weasels. I agree with that. Well, Canon 0311, I'm trying to give you a little bit of history. So Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was their Shah, which is basically like the Iranian version of a king. And basically it became, once the Ayatollahs got into power, a battle between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And the Iranians ended up taking over parts of Lebanon and murdering the Christians. And because of that, the Christians aligned themselves in Lebanon with the Jewish, with the Israelis, right? So I'm trying to remember. My brain's not working right now, but the Phalange. So Phalange. And by the way, I'm not looking at notes. This is just from me being a historian. If you guys watch my show, you know that I spent most of my childhood in libraries because my parents were divorced, and I was pretty miserable, Didn't have dad around. I had to go fly around to visit him all across the country when he was building Denny's restaurants. So the way I coped was to read a lot of books. So I learned a lot about it. Anyways, the Phalange were allied with the Israelis, and they helped the Israelis try to fight against the Iranians. But the Iranians moved in with the Shia Muslims and took over basically Syria and parts of Lebanon. And so, again, the Israelis allied themselves with the Phalange Christians. And now, of course, thanks to Barack Obama and unfortunately Trump, the Syrian government has been replaced with an Al-Qaeda. So a radical Wahhabist now runs Syria. So we're definitely not out of the woods yet, guys. Both the Shia and the Sunni want to create a worldwide caliphate. And with their oil money, they managed to pay off most European politicians to flood their countries with radical jihadis who are now rioting in the streets all over UK and RAPE gangs in the UK. And the government covered it up for almost 7 years because they didn't want to inflame the locals, at least not until there were enough of those radicals in their country to where they can't fight back. They're doing the same thing they're doing the same thing over there in Ireland, and it's just getting really out of control. And I foresee a civil war in Europe. I think that the natives, the people who are historically, genetically German and French and European, they're going to start fighting back, and they are starting to fight back against all these radical foreign invaders with very low IQs, where it's common to inbreed. And so that's why they have low IQs. It's not because they're genetically inferior. I'm not a racist. It's because their cultures condone interbreeding. And because of that, they have really low IQ kids, and they're prone to violence, a lot of them. And these are the kind of people that the European government is flooding their country with. So it's pretty doggone scary, Ryan Labs. I'm kind of terrified. So let's take a look here. Yeah, that's right, man. I agree with you, Chevy. I think Obama was an absolute piece of trash. And I think him giving billions of dollars to the Iranians as well as Biden was a huge mistake. But I think I'm going to try to run a video tomorrow where I talk to you about China's interference with our election under Sleepy Joe, and how it was coordinated with social media to cover up the fact that the COVID was used as an excuse to do these mail-in ballots. And obviously communist China knew that they could use like these, at least I think 50,000 or more, hundreds of thousands actually, of Chinese communist nationals, when you count our schools and everyone else, to use these fake driver's licenses to be able to register to vote mail-in. And I think most of you guys know that Sleepy Joe, there's no way that was a fair election. I mean, come on, give me a break. Would anybody vote for that guy? Give me a break. What a joke. So yeah, I'm with you. I think so. Ryan Labs, I'm terrified, because with that open border that Sleepy Joe allowed to happen did not protect our national sovereignty. Who knows how many sleeper cells were able to sneak into this country at the behest of all these countries who are hostile to us, especially China. Remember, China is aligned with Russia, who we're at war with, as well as Iran. And China gets their oil from Iran at a really reduced rate because we have an embargo. And so the way China gets around it, instead of using U.S. reserve currency, what they do is they pay it for Iranian oil in yuan. And we know China apparently has been flying missiles into Iran since this attack started by Israel, to make sure that they can keep shelling Israel. And of course, the Israelis basically control the U.S. economic system. We know that, anecdotally at least, they do control the privately run Federal Reserve banking system with their fiat currency. And that started with Jekyll Island. So if you look at the dynamics of what's at play here, this, in my opinion, is less about Iran having nukes and more about the BRICS currency system and the CIA trying to make sure that this alliance, this BRICS alliance, crumbles, because there's no way in hell the bankers are going to allow China to redo or change the worldwide reserve currency, which is the United States dollar. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Do you give me a bunch of ones if you think this is a battle to protect the U.S. currency and less a battle to prevent Iran from getting nukes? That's what I'm thinking. Now, one thing. Now, hold on a minute. So Ryan Lab says, I think the U.S. food cyber attack, digital truck hijacking was Iran. Media was quiet about it. You know what, man? I think you're probably right. But remember, it's China and Iran are basically the same. They are allies. They share intelligence. They work with each other. So don't think for a minute that Iran's doing this all by themselves. The drones and all that stuff that are being used against the Ukrainians are being built with technology from China, and then Iran is being used as a straw man to send those drones in. And don't think for a minute that China isn't going to try to reclaim their territory that Russia took from China years ago, I think over 100 years ago, in a war where they signed a treaty and took that territory, about 20% of China. So there's a lot of geopolitics involved here that a lot of people don't know about because they watch communist news network. I mean, CNN and PMSNBC and all these far left, basically Marxist news agencies who basically just spit out propaganda. So yeah, absolutely. And you know that China's trying to buy all of our farms, especially farms near military bases. We know that Katie Hobbs over in Arizona vetoed that bill so they could keep doing it. So don't think for a minute that the drug cartels aren't paying off politicians, especially leftist politicians, but a lot of rhinos too, to make sure that that can happen, because all they care about is money. Most politicians don't care about America anymore, in my opinion. They just care about their pocketbook. So I think there's a lot more than meets the eye here. Now, Benjai says, I don't think Iran does as much as the media makes it seem. What nation committed a nationwide terrorist attack to knock out utilities? Oh, yeah, right. I get that, man. I don't even want to say the name, because we know that that particular country runs our currency system, and they own Google, they own YouTube. So you got to be careful what you say. You don't want to get knocked offline, right? But this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that wide open border made it possible for Iran and China and all of our enemies to bring in sleeper cells. We know that China sold us a lot of equipment for our power grid that has backdoor technology where they can remotely turn off our power grid. So one of the things, before I start playing some more videos for you guys, that I highly recommend that you do, this isn't legal advice. This is just somebody who's a firearms instructor and a former Marine. I highly recommend that you stock up on ammo and as much non-perishable food as you can get your hands on, at least for now. You don't know what's going to happen, guys, but don't think for a minute that we're out of the woods. I think that by us attacking Iran, it gave the green light for sleeper cells to start popping off attacks in the United States. And they've been warning us about this too, the Iranians. So let me see what we got here. I know I've got some other videos that I want to share with you about sleeper cells. So let me see here. By the way, guys, how are you guys doing? I appreciate you joining me. I was pretty blown away that this happened. It kind of sounded like Trump was teetering on this, like he wasn't sure if he wanted to do it or not. But let me see if I can open up this one. Yeah, just bear with me. I'm trying to find some YouTube videos that talk about sleeper cells, because I think sleeper cells are the biggest issue that we're going to face right now. What do you guys think? I think that it's coming. I just don't see how we're going to get around this. So hold on one second. Let's pop this one up. It's a 4-minute video. This is a couple days ago. Let's check it out.
The Iranian Supreme Leader is warning now the U.S. of irreparable harm if the U.S. joins Israel's fight. But right now, leaders here at home are warning of so-called Iranian sleeper cells. The Trump administration and the previous Biden administration have been concerned about Iran's ability to direct or inspire attacks within the U.S. for years. News Nation's Rich McHugh is live with the very latest in the defense against Iranian-backed terror. Rich, what more are you learning on this front?
Hi, Kelly. Well, we do have some new reporting on this. Sources close to the White House tell News Nation that the administration is actively monitoring these sleeper cells here in the United States, given the current situation with Iran and Israel and happening in the Middle East. Like, this has long been a worry for the intelligence community. Sleeper cells, by definition, are people who are here, spies or terrorists, waiting, kind of inactive until they're ordered to act. Now there's this new 2025 Homeland Security Threat Assessment, which says we expect Iran to remain the primary sponsor of terrorism and continue its efforts to advance plots against individuals, including current and former U.S. officials in the United States. The previous DHS threat assessment
Billy
from
R.
Biden
Absolutely.
said the same thing. Now experts say, given the escalation between Israel and Iran, the possibility is very real, and our intelligence teams are working overtime. Here's Barak Seener. He's a senior fellow at the Henry Jackson Society.
As the conflict in the Middle East escalates and Iran is being targeted, the regime thinks to itself, okay, we are on our last death throes, and therefore we will go out with a bang, quite literally. Its calculus will be very different if its survivability is threatened.
Now, a very real example of this during last year's presidential campaign, federal prosecutors charged an operative of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard and 2 U.S.-based people with planning to surveil and assassinate President Trump. That operative reportedly telling investigators IRGC officials encouraged him to plan the attack. And then in February, President Trump's national security memo said, quote, Iran has also directed its proxy group, including Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, to embed sleeper cells in the homeland to be activated in support of this terror activity. And just now, I want to say, Kelly, a source close to the White House tells News Nation, the president is closely monitoring the situation. The president does not want to go to war. The president will avoid war. He does not want to aggravate it. He's not going to do anything unless he thinks the only way to keep the American people safe is to do something. Kelly?
Yeah, well, this aspect is certainly alarming. How do these sleeper cells work, Rich? Who controls them and orders them to act?
Well, it's certainly very murky, and experts we've talked to said a lot of it, it goes to these proxy groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. But the experts that we've talked to say, look, in
he just attacked Iran, Donna.
2023, Hezbollah and Hamas have been kind of neutralized to a degree. So the Islamic Revolutionary Guard is somewhat isolated now.
If Israel's able to decapitate the IRGC's command and control, who actually then controls these sleeper cells anymore? Do they become more decentralized, more atomized? Do they become more like lone wolf actors? Who pays them even? Because the regime is in its last throes. So these are all questions, and for intelligence and security forces.
Now, I just want to reiterate, because it's really important, sources close to the White House say the administration is actively monitoring these possible sleeper cells here in the United States. Kelly.
Yeah, well, certainly good to hear. All right, Rich McHugh, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for...
Yeah, anything that commie says is definitely not unbiased, but let's take a look at some other videos that I found about the sleeper cell issue. This is the biggest, I think this is the single biggest threat we're facing right now, are these Islamic sleeper cells, thanks to Sleepy Joe not defending our borders for the last 4 years. By some estimates, over 20 million people were able to walk across, and out of that, probably 10 million or more were getaways. So we have no idea who this guy let into our country. Let's take a look at this next one.
Law enforcement is reportedly stepping up surveillance of Iran-backed operatives in the U.S. to monitor possible domestic sleeper cells. Some officials have warned that suspected terrorists may have entered the country through open borders. And in the past, Iran has even threatened to assassinate U.S. public officials. National correspondent Janae Bowens takes a closer look at these rising concerns.
There's fear about potential threats tied to Iran, not overseas, but right here at home.
With the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran.
White House border czar Tom Homan warning of a potential 9/11 style.
Or how about this? The hypothetical, because I've been hearing this from some people that I know who are in the intelligence community. Why not Mossad? Why wouldn't Mossad launch some attacks here in the U.S. to get us more involved in that war? So we put boots on the ground, because we know that Israel considers Iran to be the gravest threat that there is to them. We know that Iran are the people that sponsored Hamas to attack them. We know that, allegedly, we know that Iran has been firing missiles or providing missiles and weapons to Hamas as well as to Hezbollah for years. We know that. So what would prevent maybe an intelligence agency like Mossad from launching attacks in the United States and say that it's Iran to get us more involved, to put boots on the ground? I mean, we're already deployed. We know that the Houthi, or the Houthis, whatever they're called, are trying to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. You know, what would prevent Hamas from doing that and then blaming it on them, and then feeding our CIA with that information to force us to send in Marines into Iran? And I think that would be tragic, to send in our military into Iran. I think that Iran at some point is going to have a revolution. I don't think most of them, especially the women, they don't like the Islamic Republic. They don't like the way they treat women. Let's keep listening.
Attack. It's coming. It should have scared the hell out of every American what the Biden administration did. This 2 million known gotaways scares the hell out of me. So I'm convinced something's coming unless we can find them.
CBS News reports that as President Trump weighs potential U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, the FBI has ramped up surveillance of possible Hezbollah-linked sleeper cells inside the U.S. as tensions escalate following Israel's military strikes. Concerns about sleeper cells resurfaced in 2020 after a drone strike ordered by Trump killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Iran vowed revenge, and in November, the Justice Department said it thwarted a plot to assassinate Trump.
If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
No new sleepers.
And another little backstory. So the president of Israel faced a vote of no confidence where they were trying to replace him. I think he only was able to maintain power by like 2 or 3 votes. And within I think the following day or 2 days later, that's when he started launching missiles into Iran. So that's kind of scary. And we know that the Israelis don't have the bunker buster bombs capable of reaching 300 feet or more. And honestly, the Iranians probably have, I think they have nukes. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think Iran already has nukes, as Israel does. And I think they've got them so far underground that the only way we're going to have access to them is to send in troops. What do you guys think? Do you think that our bunker busters are capable of reaching those weapons? I don't think that they are, but I do think that they have nuclear fissile material. And I do believe that under Sleepy Joe's open borders, I'd say there's a 99% chance that weapons of mass destruction were smuggled into this country under Sleepy Joe. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a crazy tinfoil hatter. What do you guys think?
Cell plots have been made public. However, officials say the threat is still real. And the New York Post reports Iran's supreme leader may try to activate sleeper cells in the West.
The problem with saying, well, how good are these cells is that, well, if they're a really good sleeper cell, you don't know about them until they do something.
We need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the number one way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware. And that's what's going to prevent the majority of this.
Back in 2019, a Hezbollah operative living in the U.S. was sentenced to 40 years for plotting attacks in New York. Now, officials warn the government must stay vigilant against what could happen next. In Washington.
For the new viewers, what I was saying is I think because Sleepy Joe allowed illegal aliens and people who are with no opportunity to identify who they were or are, it's highly likely that they smuggled in nuclear fissile material and weapons of mass destruction into this country, that Iran and China, their ally, probably already have weapons in our country capable of doing mass destruction to our cities. And if we follow Israel's commands to send in ground troops, which we'll probably have to do now, that there's a high probability that sleeper cells are going to engage in mass terror attacks within the United States. And so what I was asking my audience is, give me a bunch of ones if you agree that that's true, or give me a bunch of twos if you just think I'm one of these tinfoil hatters who's got his head up his butt. Mark my words, I think that's what happened, and I am fearful for our families. I'm fearful for our children, and so I've been telling you guys it'd be a good idea for you to head down to the military surplus and get as much non-perishable food as you can. Get iodine as well, just in case there's like a dirty bomb, to where you can take iodine pills to protect yourselves. And do whatever you can, if you've got a bunker, now's a good time to get it ready, just in case, because honestly, the politicians already have underground bunkers. They're going to be safe with their families. But you and we're the ones, the population control advocates like the Bill Gates and the George Soroses, now's their time to carry out their ultimate plan. Let Iran do their job for them. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a tinfoil hatter. Let's watch this next video.
Terrorist sleeper cells could be scattered throughout the homeland. A counterterrorism expert will tell us what to watch out for amid the tensions with Iran.
I'd like to thank you, Joe Biden, for importing the world's terrorists into America.
Chris Bedford will apply the art of the deal to the Middle East and predict Donald Trump's next foreign policy move.
Good job.
I don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do. We're going to find out.
And the LA Dodgers are freaking out over an ICE raid that may not have even happened. Julio Rosas will break down the bizarre case of events of he said, she said.
I don't care about what
FBI's Kash Patel has increased efforts to monitor possible domestic sleeper cells linked to Hezbollah since Israel's offensive began earlier this month. So here with more, we have Kyle Scheidler. He's a senior analyst for the Center for Security Policy. So Kyle, thanks so much for coming on the show. So my question to you is, okay, we've probably known that there are sleeper cells in the country for quite some time. So why are we getting this information right now? Is this a ramp up of new surveillance, or is this something that has just been under the radar for a while that they're pulling back into the news cycle right now?
Well, one of the things to pay attention to is the tricky semantics of sleeper cell. When you're talking about a sleeper cell, are you talking about a group of terrorists who completely blend in with the American mainstream, are not otherwise observable, and then just one day receive a coded radio message and go blow things up? That's usually not how it works. I'm not saying it can't happen, but typically what we see from cells inside the United States linked to terror groups is that they're actually very active. They're usually engaging in propaganda. They're engaging in fundraising. They're engaging in recruitment, especially when you're talking about Hezbollah. They're doing a lot to move money, smuggling cigarettes, producing synthetic weed. There are a whole bunch of criminal activities that terror groups like Hezbollah are conducting inside the United States all the time. One of the things they like to do, buy up U.S. military hardware like night vision goggles and ship them back to Lebanon. So there are a lot of things these groups are typically doing where they would run afoul of law enforcement and you could interdict them pretty much at will. The question is, when do we choose to do that, and how closely are we watching?
So do you think that the CBS report is a genuine scoop, or is this a strategic leak linked to something larger going on?
I think my instinct is it's a strategic leak. Someone inside the FBI or DOJ either wants to make sure that everybody knows that they're doing their job, which part of your job is not letting everybody know what you're doing. So fail on that part. But so there's that, right? CYA. You know, we've got it covered. Don't worry about it. There might be some of that. The other, I think, is to play into a narrative that if Donald Trump should decide to act, we are likely to be hit here. I think that's the subtext of the timing of the leak, which is that people are concerned that Donald Trump might do something. Here's a piece of data that might turn people off of encouraging Donald Trump to act.
So if we look at just what the American people should be
what they would be capable of could vary broadly. Anything from, large-scale vehicular IEDs to small-scale, small arms attacks, suicide vest bombings, anything in between. But historically, that's not what we've seen from Iran when they try to operate inside the United States.
Agreed.
Historically, they've tried to usually come up with some kind of proxy veil. We saw, for example, when they wanted to target the Saudi ambassador in Washington, D.C.
Now, What's the Matter You makes a point that regardless of Biden not protecting our borders and allowing millions and millions of illegal aliens and jihadis just to walk across unchecked, that they still could have done it. They still could have brought stuff in. And look, I agree, but I think that Sleepy Joe made it 1,000,000 times easier for our enemies to come into our country and wreak havoc. I mean, look, you've got anti-American communists who just walked across our borders, waving Mexican flags in American cities, burning American flags. And there's actually a lot of First Amendment auditors who are cheering for the Mexicans who think that we stole their land and they want to take it back. So they don't even know about the Treaty of Hidalgo. They have absolutely no knowledge of the history of this country. They've just been told since they were kids by like Che Guevara types that this country belongs to Mexico and it needs to be given back. And they're here supporting that, throwing bricks through windows and burning down cities, causing havoc. So I think What's the Matter You's got a point that it still could have happened, but give me a bunch of ones if you think that Sleepy Joe and his allies in communist China made it 1,000,000 times easier for our enemies to potentially sneak sleeper cells and weapons of mass destruction across our wide open border. So that's my big concern. What do you guys think?
A few years back, they tried to hire one of the Mexican drug cartels. Bad news for them. The guy they tried to hire turned out to be the DEA. Similar situation in the attempted assassination against Donald Trump, where you have individuals inside Iran contacting individuals who put themselves out to be hitmen, who were not Iranian agents. They were not trained Hezbollah actors. So, I do question if Iran has to use those kinds of assets in order to conduct an attack.
Well, what's the matter? I don't know about millions of jihadis, but millions of people hostile to our country. And I know you say that they're harmless, but I don't think they are. I think a lot of them are the ones that are tearing apart our cities and burning our American flag. So I disagree with that one. I think, and I also think the fact that less than 3% of the illegals that came across actually work, and almost all of them receive taxpayer-funded free everything from phones to hotels. It's absolutely destroying our government, our tax base, and our benefits that would be available to American citizens and veterans, in particular people in the Black community. I think that it's just unfair that illegal aliens are being given priority over American citizens. And I think that is causing destruction indirectly of our entire country.
On the president, how strong is their infrastructure in the United States? Or is it just the case that they don't want to waste infrastructure on a low probability success attack?
Absolutely, James.
So that's my question too. I mean, we've been hearing about this for a while. I mean, attempted assassination of President Trump. This is coming up now. Obviously, we're in the middle of this. The whole world is watching what's going to happen when it comes to the U.S.'s decision here. I guess I wonder. I mean, you see these reports and you think, oh gosh, that doesn't sound good. But we haven't really seen anything from them that's been very successful or big or made any kind of splash. So what would they want to do now?
Well, I think you have to give some credit, and I'm not one who does this very often, but you have to give some credit to U.S. intelligence on breaking up some of those incidents, like the Saudi ambassador plot, where they were able to interject people into the plot and to break it up ahead of time, which is actually what you want from your intelligence community when it comes to foreign actors and foreign terrorist organizations. So that's a rare W for them. There's always the question of what don't we know, right? We've seen a couple of failed plots. Of course, the things that you see are the failed plots, right? You don't see the successful plots until they happen.
That's right.
So what is occurring that we don't know? Matt, you mentioned in the beginning the border being wide open for 4 years under the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, we know that under Biden, DHS actually let people into the country who said that they were Hezbollah. And they did not detain them out of fear that the individual may catch COVID.
Well, what's the matter with you? I'm on board with that. I think that we need look, my family were foreigners too. The difference is we came here legally. We had to take a test. My ancestors had to take a test and swear an oath of loyalty to our country. So I'm all for legal immigration. The problem is the narrative that we hear on communist news network and primarily Democrat-run media is that these people are immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens. And as far as the Democrats are concerned, they were brought here for one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to redistrict. Because when they flood our country with illegals and put them in sanctuary cities, which are Democrat, that allows them to pick up new House seats. And by most estimates, California would lose five House seats and would go red if the illegal aliens were deported. And that is in my opinion, why they're orchestrating all through communist Chinese money primarily, and people like Walmart, radical leftists. They're paying these people to go to these so-called protests and riot and burn down our cities to block ICE from being able to leave their federal facilities to go and round up these illegals and send them back home. We've got a great legal immigration system. Most countries won't let people in their country unless they can prove that they're going to be able to provide a benefit to society. The illegals that are coming here are not providing a benefit to our society. They're immediately going on welfare, and they're collecting, by some estimates, a minimum of $5,000 a month. And you see black males in particular fleeing the Democrat Party in Democrat-run cities, shaking their heads going, this ain't right. This is not right. And veterans they're putting illegals in the front of the line at VA hospitals under Sleepy Joe, literally putting illegals in front of Americans who risk their lives for this country. So that open border caused a lot of problems. And I think probably highly likely that terrorists and sleeper cells brought a lot of weapons of mass destruction into this country. Sure, could it have happened without an open border? Absolutely. But with an open border, think about how much more havoc they're going to be able to wreak now that Trump has aligned himself with Israel and attacked Iran. I mean, this is scary stuff, guys.
While in detainment. So we know that there's exposures that we just don't have covered.
True,
and we hope the guys in the FBI do in Washington, but I don't have a high degree of confidence in that.
Yeah, heaven forbid anybody claiming to be with a terrorist organization go out and get COVID. We could never allow such a thing. We've seen some online chatter about potential cyber attacks that might be coming into the country. Do you see that happening? How much of a real threat assessment should we look at this?
It's certainly possible. How much of that infrastructure exists since the Israeli attack began, I don't know. But the Iranians do have a highly...
Well, Eden Star, that's absolute. Eden Star says that our borders have never been open. Listen, over 20 million illegals were allowed to walk across our border under Sleepy Joe without paperwork. Literally, and when I was down in El Salvador a few years ago, there was a line that said passport-free line in Spanish, where they were literally loading airplanes with people who looked really poor, like peasants, and flying them into U.S. military bases at like 3 a.m. in the morning and aiding and abetting illegal immigration. Our own federal government, with the help of taxpayer-funded non-governmental organizations, including the Catholic Church and Red Cross, was aiding and abetting with the help of the Biden administration to flood our country with illegal immigrations. And of course, we know that the Democrats use illegal immigrants to redistrict and create more Democrat House seats. And that is their goal. What's the Matter You has an interesting argument, and I think there's some truth to it, that all sides, including Republicans, want them here because it helps the prison industrial complex, because it's going to help them build more prisons. We already have more prisoners in our prisons than they do in communist China, which allegedly has like billions of people. So think about that. That's pretty wild.
A qualified cyber capability. They have hit us before in a number of different areas. And we have such a vast internet infrastructure that there's always some target, whether it's at the lowest local level or at the federal level. So, I mean, you can cause a great deal of havoc in this country through cyber attacks.
Eden Star says I'm lying because there's Border Patrol. That's absurd. The Border Patrol was ordered by the Biden administration to help people into the country and usher them across. They loaded them on buses and with taxpayer money flooded them into Democrat sanctuary cities. That's the reality, buddy. You got to stop watching CNN, man. Watch my show more often and you'll learn the truth. How's that sound?
Just going down to the level of the county government and attacking, a local water or sewer waste treatment plant. And in fact, that is something that has occurred in the past. So we have just a lot of really soft targets when it comes to the cyberspace. So I have to consider it as a possibility. What I don't know is, are those Iranian hackers very comfortably in their basements with all of their monitors up doing their work? Or are they keeping their head down
sure did, Yellow Cat.
Lest the Israelis drop a bomb on them? That I don't.
There's also the question of if you think this intelligence could be used, and more like it maybe coming, could be used to justify a strike on Iran.
Maybe, but I don't think so. People have been warning about Hezbollah activities in the United States for decades. What we saw under the Obama administration was a strong effort to suppress any evidence that Hezbollah was active in the Western Hemisphere because they were afraid that it would interrupt an Iran nuclear deal. For example, the DEA had been working on a major case called Operation Cassandra, detailing Hezbollah's role in drug trafficking, money laundering, and the like. And they were ready to go forward, and the Obama administration put the halt to it because they didn't want it to interfere with the Iran deal. So my suggestion is that I believe leaks coming out of the, if you will, the deep state, the administrative state, the intelligence community will mostly be negative in an attempt to prevent the United States from taking action vis-a-vis Iran.
Well, we've been seeing a lot of back and forth within the intelligence community, whether you believe that Tulsi Gabbard was given false information. And, you know, there's so much going on within the Trump administration right now. This whole story started because the FBI and Kash Patel, you know, they had this report out with CBS. How do you view what's happening, the steps that are being taken right now within the intelligence community itself?
There's probably a degree of disagreement in and amongst the intelligence community, which frankly is what you want. I mean, you want them doing their assessments, coming up with different data, and then, you know, hashing it out amongst each other. So I'm not surprised if, you know, CIA is seeing different things than ODNI and the like. I will say traditionally, you know, as I said, the intelligence community has been against action in Iran and has taken great steps to leak things that would prevent action against Iran, going all the way back to 2003 and the National Intelligence Assessment on the Iranian nuclear capability. But at the end of the day, I think...
So just to address Biden's wide open border, where the Border Patrol was ordered to aid and abet illegals into our country, I have a hardcore left-wing progressive in the chat who claims that it's really Republicans who are putting them on buses. That's not true. The Border Patrol was bringing illegals into the country and helping them come in rather than jailing them, which is what they're supposed to do, so they could await their hearing, because Biden knew, and the Border Patrol also knows, that if they're not in custody, they can shelter in place in the United States for 5 to 7 years while they're receiving taxpayer-funded everything. So let's hear what really happened, and then we'll get back into some live coverage of the Iran attacks.
Biden's Border Patrol agents are now literally opening the gates to illegal immigrants. Have a look at this shocking clip which emerged this week.
Illegal immigrants showed up at the gate expecting to be let in. The National Guard said, nope, we're not going to be the ones to let you in. The immigrants just stood outside and waited. And here's what ended up happening. Border Patrol showed up. Take a look at this video. A Border Patrol supervisor showed up with the key, unlocked the gate, and let all of the migrants into the property.
Now, I know West Virginia is not a border state by any stretch of the imagination, but 200,000 illegals are crossing the border every month. Surely the American people are getting sick of this.
Well, I think the American people are, and I think certainly your viewership in Australia can understand that the definition of a sovereign country is borders. And without that, you don't have sovereignty. And look, we've had 2 million encounters now at the border.
Oh, and there's no question that that once Biden let them in the country illegally, that Republican governors put them on buses to send them to Democrat cities that were wealthy, right? Like Martha's Vineyard. And of course, we know that the liberals there were terrified and they wanted to send them to, you know, other cities and get them out of their little rich limousine liberal strongholds. But they were ushered into the country by Biden. There was a shelter-in-place order issued by President Trump. One of his very first executive orders was that we would seal the border and build a border wall. And, of course, we know that Biden immediately halted that order and then sold all of the equipment and the border wall material for scrap and rescinded that executive order and ordered the Border Patrol to usher illegals across. And we know that there were millions of getaways that the Border Patrol was not able to usher across. And those are the people that I'm concerned about, who could potentially be launching terror strikes within the country. Let's get into it.
Just this year alone. Now you're starting to see the repercussions of that because these southern border counties down there in Texas and Arizona, but especially in Texas, you're seeing congressional seats getting picked up by Republican Hispanics down in that area of the border. This is going to be an issue that is going to be on the ballot here in November in the United States. And you're going to see a lot of Hispanic Republicans picking up seats down there, in particular, because you have to remember, this is putting a tremendous...
No, you come in and you get processed and you stay in a detention center. And that was the problem is Biden made it possible for them to be released. Catch and release was the Biden policy. Catch and release. And so that made it possible now for all these illegals to be in sanctuary cities just in time for the next U.S. Census. And by most estimates, 10 to 20 new Democrat House seats are going to be gained in the next U.S. Census as a result of Sleepy Joe's open border policy. And that was the goal of the Democrat Party, to make sure that the entire country would be turned blue by using sanctuary cities with the promise of free health care and free protection from ICE. That is the reality.
This amount of strain on the local services in a given community like McAllen, Texas, for instance. They can't take an influx of tens of thousands of people in any given month and be able to function as a town. So this is a winning issue for us.
Eden, stop smoking the pipe.
I think prevail at the ballot box for us, and you're going to see a lot of Republicans pick up seats, particularly down in South Texas.
Riley Moore, West Virginia Treasurer, thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
All right, so let's get back into let's get into some live coverage of what's going on right now with this war. This is pretty wild stuff. Pretty crazy. Check it out. Look at this destruction. Unbelievable. So I'm assuming this is Iran, right? That's right, Dan. Get up and fight. So does anybody know if that's Iran or is that Israel? Wow, look at that. Damn. Could you imagine just cruising down the street and all of a sudden bombs going off? Whew. Damn. Hey, does anybody know if he's launched the bunker busters yet? Hey, me, it's Terrell. Good seeing you. They're definitely harmful, F. I didn't think they ever left your body. They have, you find microplastics in people's brains now. Oh, nobody knows? Damn. Well, I have it on good authority, I can't prove it, that he may have used tactical nukes against these guys. And if he did, we're looking at some serious retaliation by these sleeper cells that Sleepy Joe just let walk across our border the last 4 years. Really, Ryan Labs? So he did use bunker busters. Wow. Well, do you have any links you can show us? I mean, that looks pretty devastating. Gosh. I mean, that is just... I don't know if you guys have ever been in the military, but just like a 155 howitzer barrage, the whole ground shakes like an earthquake. I can't imagine what one of these like 2,000 or more pound bunker busters is doing. It's like an earthquake. Hello! Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran. You can hear all the Moab. That's right. That's right. That's right, Michael Dolan. Moab. No. Sounds like Minnesota, right? I've never seen anybody treat women worse than these guys. Just these fundamentalist jihadi types, man, they treat women like dog shit. I have no sympathy for men who treat women like that. It's cultural, it's terrible. Hey, Sir Richard, good seeing you, Mike. Good seeing you, Mike. Oh, no, Eden, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a libertarian. There are a lot of things that I like about Trump that he's done, but definitely not a big supporter. You're just a radical Marxist, and you probably went to a public school, probably went to Berkeley or something, and so to you, if they don't repeat everything that CNN told you to think, then, you think that we support Trump. You don't see any aircraft either. I mean, that's pretty wild. There's no aircraft, but all of a sudden just a boom. I mean, obviously that's got to be a bunker buster where they're hitting. Where they're hitting, it looks like those are going deep. Damn, look at that, secondaries. So that looks like a secondary. So that looks like maybe it hit an ammo dump, something like that. If you guys don't know what a secondary is, let me know and I'll tell you. Another interesting thing, when you see a bomb go off, it takes a while for the sound waves to hit you. So there'll be these sound waves that come across, and it's like this heat flash that comes across you. It's pretty devastating. And that is black smoke, almost like it hit oil or maybe an oil dump. That's some serious explosive power. Wow, look at that, guys. Gee whiz. Now, that would make sense because they're saying that these nukes are buried underground. So hit in the top of a mountain, that would be logical that that's a bunker buster that just went off. No, you're not injecting facts, Eden. You're just repeating a bunch of Marxist, leftist, commie propaganda. None of the stuff you're saying has any factual merit or legal merit. It's just nonsense. Wow, look at that. Well, the power grid's still up, so it doesn't look like we hit any infrastructure that would take down their power. You see lights are still on. Could you imagine having to listen to all this religious fanaticism all the time on loudspeakers all the time? Oh no! Gosh, I'd go insane. Eden, it's all Democrat judges, most of them appointed by Obama and Sleepy Joe. What are you talking about? Come on. You guys know that the left has been using lawfare against his administration to try and prevent any of his policies going forward. The Supreme Court keeps reversing him. Why don't you wake up? Obviously, you're not a lawyer, okay? I have the benefit of having practiced law for the last 20 years, so I know a little bit about how district court judges are being used to engage in lawfare to prevent his policies from going forward. No, you don't give facts. You give propaganda from MSNBC and CNN because that's where you get your facts from. So does anybody know, is that Tehran, by the way? It looks like Iranian, right? You have the Persian letters there on the screen. The way it's burning, it's got to be oil or some kind of like a fuel dump or something. Whew, man. Damn. And that's some serious devastation. Hey, what's going on, Cheryl? Good seeing you. Yeah, over 20 years, Eden, and started out as an appellate lawyer, civil rights, criminal defense, worked at the prosecutor's office for a while. Had an opportunity to work at the 4th District Court of Appeal in California. Won quite a few appellate briefs, too. Pretty proud of myself on the writ habeas. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too. Looks like fuel. Yeah, like a fuel fire, yeah. That's a fair statement. What's the matter, you? I know that all of the major news stations and the colleges and the schools are run by radical Marxists. So I know that people like Eden, they've been brought up in that. So just that anti-American, pro-Che Guevara, white men are evil, critical race theory bullshit. And that to me, that's the ultimate form of division. Trying to tell school kids that white people are oppressors and they're oppressed. I mean, give me a break. It's just insane. And that's not true either, Eden. They said that he would need to help facilitate the return. They didn't say that he had to return them, just that if El Salvador released him, that he would have to help facilitate it. You can't order a sovereign country to return one of their own nationals who's a known gang member and drug trafficker and human trafficker. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're just regurgitating nonsense. Let's see what else we can find here that looks interesting. By the way, guys, I appreciate everybody joining me. I'm attorney Michael Ehline, and I was actually headed to Powerhouse Gym when I saw that we attacked these guys. So I said, you know, rather than you guys get your so-called news from these radical Marxist news organizations, I figured, you know, I'm going to give you guys what's really going on. Let's take a look at this guy. Let's see what Iran has to say.
That has been committing a horrible genocide in Palestine. For the member and observer of the Human Rights Council has to stand up against this grave injustice. Israel has launched an unprovoked aggression on Iran in a stark violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the Charter, and in bold defiance of all the principles and rules that this Council stands for.
Right, Labs, I would say that most of them are kind of snobbish and full of themselves. I just happen to have had the benefit of being a construction worker for most of my young life and being a Marine and stuff. So I became a lawyer on the law study program. So I studied under judges and lawyers and tried cases and did depositions as opposed to spending my time in a law school. So I didn't get brainwashed by the Marxist-run education system. I maintained my patriotic values. And I don't really have a lot of lawyer friends because they all act like this commenter in the comment section, like a typical Berkeley student, right? A typical, oh, I got to be in my safe space. No, I'm a real American. I'm a Second Amendment rights advocate, and I make money doing personal injury cases, and I primarily help military veterans. But I love you guys more than I love any lawyers because you guys are the real people. And that's why I do well in the practice of law, because my clients know I'm a regular guy who just happens to have a law license. I learn more from my audience than I learn from any court. I don't really get along with most judges. I just know how to argue. I don't get along with most lawyers because I know most of them are radical left-wingers. And I just don't believe in Marxism and communism. I just don't. It's not my deal. I'm a real American, a free man upon the land. I'm a natural law advocate. I like to read the works of John Locke, Blackstone's commentaries on the English law. I understand the true history of this country. That's what makes me a lot different. I don't think there should be tampon machines in the boys' restroom. It's absurd. And I homeschool my kids, and I encourage you guys to grow your own food, collect your own water, and homeschool your kids and create parallel systems so you don't end up like this commenter, totally brainwashed by the Marxist-run news media. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree that that's why you like me.
Security with all force. This is our inherent right, as also clearly recognized under Article 51 of Charter. Dear colleagues, the peace and rule of law are at serious stake as the result of Israel's unlawful invasion of Iran. Israel is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. International humanitarian law already badly undermined as a consequence of Israel's.
So the commenter says, it shows that you didn't learn law. You don't know what you're talking about. No, it shows that I wasn't brainwashed in a Marxist-run, communist Chinese-funded Confucian society. I actually know the true history of this country. Not what you see. That's the problem with liberals, guys. They think that you don't know anything unless you have some worthless piece of paper on the wall. So after I passed the bar, I ended up graduating from a law school anyways, but I don't have an undergrad. No, I was admitted into a law school because I passed the baby bar. And so I actually do have a JD, but I earned it after I was already a practicing attorney. It just shows how ignorant and obnoxious and arrogant you liberals are. Let's keep watching.
Relentless atrocities in occupied Palestine and elsewhere is now under another extremely serious danger as Israel is committing grave violations of 1949 Geneva Conventions.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Give me a bunch of ones for Michael Dolan.
Mr. President, Switzerland is the custodian of Geneva Conventions and protocols on IHL and has an important responsibility in this regard. Indeed, every state party to 1949 Convention shall shoulder their responsibility under these conventions.
That's right, one love.
In particular, common articles 1 and 3 of these conventions. Dear colleagues, we were attacked in the midst of an ongoing diplomatic process. We were supposed to meet with Americans.
Well, that assumes facts, not an evidence. He had plenty of due process. He was found by multiple courts to be an MS-13 gang member. And then a radical leftist judge decided that they wanted to make a point and try to keep him in the country a little longer. And now he's back up and he's going to end up being in federal prison probably for most of his natural life until he's deported back to El Salvador. So congratulations. You didn't prove anything other than the fact that you're a partisan, probably someone who went to Cal Berkeley and does not have your finger on the pulse of real America like I do. My audience are real Americans, not academics like you. Let's hear what the Iranian representative has to say.
Regime and knows how to defend his beloved motherland. A peace-loving nation inheriting one of the most ancient civilizations that has made significant contribution to human civilization, culture, and ethics.
You're lying.
Now, this nation of nearly 100 million population is subject to an outrageous act of aggression by a regime that has been committing a horrible genocide in Palestine for the past 2 years, and that is occupying the lands of neighboring countries.
The big prize, double tap.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before this august body to remind you of the legal and ethical responsibility each and every state member and observer of the Human Rights Council has to stand up against this grave injustice. Israel has launched an unprovoked aggression on Iran.
What do you guys think?
In a stark violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the Charter, and in bold defiance of all the principles and rules that this Council stands for.
Communist Chinese.
This is an unjust war imposed on my people since early hours of Friday 13 June,
illegal. There you go.
When Israel perpetrated a mix of unlawful and criminal operations against off-duty military personnel, university professors, and ordinary people. Hundreds of my fellow Iranians have been killed and injured following Israel's surprise armed attacks and terrorist operations on residential areas, public infrastructures, hospitals, health centers, and of course, the Foreign Ministry. Our peaceful nuclear facilities have also been targeted, despite their being under full.
You know, does anybody know why the Iranians, at least their government, when they're not wearing their sheep outfits, that they wear these clerical type collars with, like, they don't actually have a collar on them? I've always wondered, does anybody know what that's all about? It almost looks like a clerical collar. I can't quite figure it out.
Monitoring of IAEA, and despite the fact that attacking such facilities are absolutely banned
Hey,
under
Rami, good seeing you,
international law.
man. You like it?
Israel attacks
Thanks,
on
dude.
nuclear facilities are grave war crimes. Given also,
Guys, give me a bunch of ones for my homeboy Rami. He's helped me a lot. And one of the things I texted him earlier and said, "Hey man, I got the new Shuri microphone and I'm hoping you guys like it." I know I sounded like I was in an echo chamber before, and I'm hoping that this will improve the quality of my podcast. I'm really, really happy with it. I've been messing with it all day. I've been looking forward to going live. Thanks again, Rami, for all your guidance and counsel. Guys, everybody, give me a bunch of ones for Rami, and make sure to like and subscribe to his channel. Big time supporter of the channel. And guys, I really do appreciate the super chats and the purchases of the memberships. My daughter helps me with my channel, and I take the money if I don't use it to support other channels like Reluctant Prophet or Lane Myers. I set aside some of it and put it in an IRA for my daughter, a Roth, so she can hopefully have something when she's older. I'm trying to teach her how to be an entrepreneur, how to start her own business, so she doesn't have to go to some commie Marxist run college and get brainwashed into thinking that having a piece of paper on the wall makes you educated, right? Makes you civilized, because it doesn't. I mean, look, let's face it, the Confucian societies, and prior to that, the KGB infiltrated our university system, and they brainwashed people to think just like this commenter in our chat right now. He or she literally thinks that you're a dumbass unless you have some stupid piece of paper that you paid $200,000 for. Look, I'll walk over 200 of these guys who most of them can't even type. They don't know grammar because they rely on AI. I'll walk over 200 of them to get an inactive United States Marine with no education to help me run my law firm, because they do a better job and they stay after the task, and they can be taught the fundamentals of being a lawyer by doing. And that's how all lawyers became lawyers prior to the advent of law schools. And I think in the late 1800s, prior to that, you became a lawyer like I did on the Inns of Court system, where you'd study under a judge or a lawyer, and then you'd be given an oral examination by a judge and be allowed to pass the bar. And I did a video about that a couple nights ago, if you want to check it out, with John Felix, if you want to learn a little bit more about the history of the bar and how bar exams and law schools in general were basically set up in many states to prevent black people from becoming lawyers because they couldn't afford the schooling. So that's why they did away with the law study programs. Only like 4 states have them now, and I happen to have graduated from one of those.
This nation has come under an unjust war of aggression. The world, every state, every UN mechanism and body has to be alarmed and has to act now to stop
Absolutely
the
the rights,
to end
the right
impunity
stuff,
and to hold the criminals accountable for their unending
Hey,
atrocities
Gloria.
and crimes in our region. This is a call from someone who has allocated his whole life to dialogue and diplomacy,
I'm glad you like the mic. Thanks.
but who also is a veteran of an imposed war by Saddam regime
A
and
veteran.
knows how to defend his beloved motherland. A peace-loving nation inheriting one of the most ancient civilizations that has made
That's right, Rami.
significant
I agree.
contribution to human civilization, culture, and ethics. Now, this nation of nearly 100 million population is subject to an outrageous act of aggression by a regime that has been committing a horrible genocide in Palestine
Got it. That makes
for
sense.
the past 2 years, and that is occupying the lands of neighboring countries.
Got it. Thanks,
Ladies
Rami.
and gentlemen, I stand before this august body to remind you of the legal and ethical responsibility each and every state, member, and observer of the Human Rights Council has to stand up against this grave injustice. Israel has launched an unprovoked aggression on Iran.
Oh, no
in a
way.
stark
Really?
violation
Hold on.
of Article 2,
Ryan
Paragraph
Labs sent
4
me
of the
one. Hold on.
Charter.
Oh, my gosh.
And
Ryan
in
Labs,
bold
thank you, bro.
defiance of all the principles and
hold on.
rules that this council
Sorry, I
established.
didn't see that, Ryan Labs. I was busy arguing with the communist in the chat. I got to stop doing that. This communist is really disrupting our show, guys. Maybe we should send this communist back to Berkeley. What do you think? Ryan Labs, thank you so much. What Ryan Labs says is, and give me a bunch of ones for Ryan Labs, and make sure to like and subscribe to Ryan Labs' channel. Ryan Labs says, if you cannot repair it, you don't own it. Property ownership rights for all, right to repair. Absolutely. I mean, property taxes, what a joke. I mean, that's got to go. Why don't we just return back to a tariff-based system and get rid of this communist income tax, right, guys? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that income taxes should be abolished. We should not, the government has no right to know how much you make, in my opinion. I think that the Federal Reserve banking system and all this stuff has got to go. Let's go back to a gold-backed, silver-backed currency. And by the way, I've been having a lot of luck with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I've made quite a bit of money off of it. Well, not money, fiat currency valuation, but you know what I mean. Anything to get off the Federal Reserve System. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And thanks a lot, Ryan Labs. I agree with that 1,000,000%. You are right on, man. Let's get back into it. Thanks, Gloria, for letting me know. And by the way, I appreciate it when you guys give me super chats and memberships, but I appreciate it even more when my moderators let me know what the heck is going on.
Under a merciless act of aggression. This is crystal clear fact, must not be allowed to be twisted upside down by Israel and its backers. Israel's aggression on Iran cannot and must not be justified by any legal or moral standards.
So what do you guys think? I mean, Iran's been funding Hezbollah and Hamas, and they've been dropping rockets and bombs on Israel for years. Do you think that Israel had a right to send missiles over to Iran? Or do you think that it violated international law? I mean, do you think that Iran is like the pot calling the kettle black, or what? I mean, look, anybody who says death to America is definitely not a friend of mine. Can you believe that Sleepy Joe and Barack Obama sent them hundreds of billions of dollars? I mean, they were literally on the ropes from the Trump administration #1. That their whole country was ready to collapse in a revolution. And then here comes freaking Barack Obama with his Harvard buddies, his elite, so-called educated commie buddies, giving these guys like $400 billion. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Any justification for this unjust and criminal war would be tantamount to complicity. Iran is defending itself against the barbaric aggression. We are entitled, tasked, and determined to defend our territorial integrity, national sovereignty, and security with all force.
So do you guys think that we should have given Iran back their money after they said death to America and it had been frozen because of the fact that they wanted death to America? Allah! Or do you agree with Eden and Barack Hussein Obama, Barry Soetoro, and Big Mike that we should have given Iran any of that money? Or should we have waited until they had a revolution and reinstalled a Shah and gone back to an agrarian liberal government and maybe given the money to those people? What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think we should have waited until the Iranian people overthrew their government from Trump's sanctions, or give me a bunch of twos if you think that it was perfectly okay for Barack Obama to give them $400 billion, much of which was used to enrich the Ayatollahs and build missiles and bombs to drop on Israel. Let me know. Ones if you support Obama's giving them $400 billion, right? Or twos if you think that it was a bad idea.
Civilization, when a civilized nation has come under an unjust war of aggression. The world, every state, every UN mechanism and body has to be alarmed,
you got that right,
and has to act now to stop the aggressor, to end impunity, and to hold the criminals accountable for their unending atrocities and crimes in our region. This is a call from someone who has allocated his whole life to dialogue and diplomacy, but who also is a veteran of an imposed war by Saddam regime who knows how to defend his beloved motherland. A peace-loving nation inheriting one of the most ancient civilizations that has made significant contribution to human civilization, culture, and ethics. Now, this nation of nearly 100 million population is subject to an outrageous act of aggression by a regime that has been committing a horrible genocide in Palestine for the past 2 years, and that is occupying the lands of neighboring countries.
So I do have a question for you guys. We know how the anti-Americans, the illegals that Sleepy Joe flooded into our country say that LA belongs to Mexico, right? But at the same token, the same liberals that flooded them into our country say that Israel belongs to Palestine, but there was no country of Palestine until what? I don't know, maybe 80 years ago. And prior to that, what was it called? Oh, Israel. That's right. So if you use the leftists' logic, wouldn't Israel still belong to Israel? That's the problem that I have with progressive liberals, like limousine liberals, is their philosophies are all over the map. I don't know. What do you guys put it in the comments? What do you guys think? Should Israel belong to Palestine, or is it still historically Israel? And if so, wouldn't that mean to you liberals and Marxist commies that Israel still belongs to Israel? I'm just trying to understand your logic, because, well, that's right. You don't have logic because you're emotion-based thinkers. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Despite their being under full monitoring of IAEA, and despite the fact that attacking such facilities are absolutely banned under international law. Israel attacks on nuclear facilities are grave war crimes. Gloria. Given also the danger of environmental and health catastrophe as the result of radiological
I agree with that, Mr.
leakage. Mr. President, Iran, a founding member of the United Nations system, rightfully expects each and every one of you to stand for justice, rule of law, and basic tenets of humanity and ethics. Iran is under a merciless...
No, I agree with that. In 1948, the State of Israel was formed, but prior to it being a state recognized by the United Nations, what was it called before that? Israel. That's right. Judea. It was a Hebrew-speaking country, right? And then the Romans hated the Jewish people so much that they scattered them across the land and kicked them out and turned the land over to, I believe it was the Philistines. And ultimately it was called Palestine. But the Romans actually created the Palestinian state. Prior to that, it was Israel, but not the state of Israel created by the UN. That is true.
Act of aggression. This is crystal clear fact. Must not be allowed to be twisted upside down by Israel and its backers. Israel aggression on Iran cannot and must not be justified by any legal or moral standards. Any justification for this unjust and criminal...
Eden, do you deny that the tomb of King David is in the land that's known as Israel? Gosh, guys, I think I'm talking to a radical fundamentalist jihadi. I'm going to stop responding to Eden because I can tell that this individual does not know what the hell they're talking about. Historically, totally skewed, crazy.
War would be tantamount to complicity. Iran is defending itself against the barbaric aggression. We are entitled,
really, Dr. Donna,
tasked, and determined to defend our territory.
Dr. Donna says that they did use bunker busters. So while we're listening to Baghdad Bob over here, I'm going to pull up some video about what bunker busters can do. So what I understand, Dr. Donna, is that bunker busters can go about 300 feet below the earth, but let's assume that they have their nukes hidden like 500 feet. How is a bunker buster going to get those nukes? And I think most people that are somewhat intelligent realize that Iran probably already has nukes. I would say there's a high probability they've had nukes for years. So let's keep listening to Baghdad Bob, and I'll try to queue up some video about bunker busters. All right, just stand by, guys.
So let me be clear. If there is any use of costly systems and mechanisms we have created for the past 80 decades to preserve human rights and dignity, now is the time to do it.
Right. Like Iran supports human rights.
Otherwise, the whole UN-based international...
Look at the way Iran treats their women. You got to be kidding me, right? I mean, these people, they're just horrible people, their government. I mean, this Islamic Republic, the way they treat their women, that's all I need to see. Anybody who treats women like that is no friend of mine.
System would corrode badly. This is a historic moment for human civilization when a civilized nation has come under an unjust war of aggression. The world, every state, every UN mechanism and body has to be alarmed and has to act now to stop the aggressor, to end impunity and to hold the criminals accountable for their unending atrocities and crimes in our region.
Atrocities and crimes. Hello.
This is a call from someone who has allocated his whole life to dialogue and diplomacy, but who also is a veteran of an imposed war by Saddam regime and knows how to defend his beloved motherland. A peace-loving nation inheriting one of...
We are winning. We are beating the Americans. We are winning. Baghdad Bob. Allah. Allah. All right, guys, let's check out the bunker busters. So this is the only thing I could find. So even though it's Communist News Network, let's see if they're accurate on the bunker busters, Dr. Donna. Let's see what they have to say. Let's check it out.
As President Trump weighs U.S. involvement in strikes on Iran, experts say a massive bunker buster bomb is likely the only weapon capable of destroying a key Iranian nuclear facility. But as CNN's Brian Todd reports, even this massive bomb may not be able to penetrate Iran's Fordo fuel enrichment plant, which is carved into a mountain and extends deep underground.
It's a sophisticated, frightening piece of weaponry designed to hit targets like some of Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities deep underground.
They're buried so deep, and no other bomb would be able to certainly destroy them.
The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, also known as the Bunker Buster, the largest non-nuclear bomb in the U.S. military's arsenal. Designed, the Air Force says, to reach and destroy weapons of mass destruction in well-protected facilities.
That's wild. Look at that.
The Bunker Buster
Damn.
is roughly 20 feet long, weighs 30,000 pounds, with 6,000 pounds of high explosives. The Israelis don't have them, nor the means to deliver them. Only the U.S. does, and there is no public record that they've ever been used in combat.
The United States has never encountered a target that required a bomb of this size. We have other very, very large bombs, such as the Moab, which is the mother of all bombs, as they say.
That mother of all bombs, weighing more than 21,000 pounds, was dropped by U.S. forces on ISIS targets in Afghanistan in 2017. But the Bunker Buster, even heavier. Experts say the Bunker Buster has a thick, hard shell designed to withstand the impacts of the ground and plunge to the depths it needs to reach, with explosives in a fuse that also needs to be robust enough to penetrate the ground. The Bunker Buster doesn't have the biggest blast area, experts say, because it's designed to burrow into the ground before exploding.
Got like a delayed
the only
fuse,
plane
I
that
think.
can carry the Bunker Buster, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, flown by a 2-pilot crew, capable of flying about 6,000 nautical miles without refueling and eluding an enemy's most sophisticated defenses. The likely target of the Bunker Buster, if the U.S. were to get involved in this conflict, Fordo, an Iranian nuclear enrichment site buried deep under a mountain beneath possibly 300 feet of rock. A key question, could the Bunker Buster really damage Fordo significantly? Experts say the Bunker Buster can penetrate about 200 feet into the ground, maybe more. But if the key targets at Fordo are about 300 feet under...
One bomb isn't going to penetrate that. You're going to have multiple hits at the same spot. Drop a bomb, another B-2 comes drops another bomb in the crater of the first.
Another key question is, would a strike on the Fordo nuclear facility cause a large...
As President Trump weighs U.S.
So basically what he's saying is that one bomb wouldn't be enough to hit down to 300 feet. So what they have to do is they have to precision strike it into the same crater, and eventually they'll get to where they need to go. But my question is, the Iranians, they get their intel from China, right? So, well, a question prefaced by a statement. If they get their intel from China, we know that China is basically part and parcel of the U.S. Democrat Party, right? So they probably have intel that they've shared with the Iranians. So why wouldn't the Iranians bury something 1,000 feet underground? I mean, if I was Iran, I would just keep on going. I would put my nukes even further underground. So that brings me back full circle to my original comments when we started. How many of you guys, how about this? How many of you guys think we're going to send in troops? Give me a bunch of ones if you think we're going to have to put boots on the ground. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that this is just going to be an aerial bombardment war. And do you think if Iran sets off sleeper cells in the U.S., that is going to increase the likelihood of us putting boots on the ground or decrease it? What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. Let's watch again a little bit about the Bunker Buster.
The largest non-nuclear bomb in the U.S. military's arsenal. designed, the Air Force says, to reach and destroy weapons of mass destruction in well-protected facilities. The bunker buster is roughly 20 feet long, weighs 30,000 pounds, with 6,000 pounds of high explosives.
Damn.
The Israelis don't have them, nor the means to deliver
That's
them.
insane.
Only the U.S. does, and there is no public record that they've ever been used in combat.
The United States has never encountered a target that required a bomb of this size. We have other very, very large bombs, such as the Moab, which is the mother of all bombs, as they say.
That mother of all bombs, weighing more than 21,000 pounds, was dropped by U.S. forces on ISIS targets in Afghanistan in 2017. But the bunker buster, even heavier.
Wow.
Experts say the bunker buster has a thick, hard shell designed to withstand the impacts of the ground and plunge to the depths it needs to reach, with explosives in a fuse that also needs to be robust enough to penetrate the ground. The bunker buster doesn't have the biggest blast area, experts say, because it's designed to burrow into the ground before exploding.
God, this technology is insane,
The only
guys.
plane that can carry the bunker buster, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, flown by a 2-pilot crew, capable of flying about 6,000 nautical miles without refueling and eluding an enemy's most sophisticated defenses. The likely target of the bunker buster, if the U.S. were to get involved in this conflict, Fordo, an Iranian nuclear enrichment site buried deep under a mountain beneath possibly 300 feet of rock. A key question, could the bunker buster really damage Fordo significantly? Experts say the bunker buster can penetrate about 200 feet into the ground, maybe more. But if the key targets at Fordo are about 300 feet under,
one bomb isn't going to penetrate that. You're going to have multiple hits at the same spot. Drop a bomb, another B-2 comes in, drops another bomb in the crater of the first.
Another key question is, would a strike on the Fordo nuclear facility cause a large radiation leak? 3 experts who spoke to CNN say a radiation leak would probably be limited to the immediate area, and a strike would probably not pose the same kind of catastrophic consequences that bombing a nuclear reactor would. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Earlier, I spoke with Jennifer Kavanagh.
Well, wait a minute, guys. Didn't Iran break open the shells on the nuclear power plants in Iran? That does have me concerned. I mean, having all that radiation flying. Because look, I'm one of these guys. I love the Iranian people. I think that they're good people. I think that they've been oppressed by the Shah as well as the Ayatollahs. I think more so by the Ayatollahs, obviously. Islamic fundamentalists, the way they treat their women is just like dog shit. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine, like, you know, you not like, let's say you commie libs that are spouting off your inaccurate historical views of Israel, for example, that was like, what, for thousands of years it was Israel, and then all of a sudden it became Palestine, and now it's, I don't know. But imagine how you would feel if somebody didn't like the Trump administration, so they started dropping bombs and breaking open shells on our nuclear, like San Onofre, and all of a sudden nuclear waste started, like 3 Mile Island, if you guys are old enough to remember that, the 3 Mile Island disaster, how you would feel. I mean, gosh, that's terrible. I just don't know what the answer is, guys. This is escalating, and I just think it's going to get worse. And I think with these sleeper cells that Sleepy Joe basically allowed to walk across our wide open border, that we're looking at some real trouble. But let's learn a little bit more about these bunker busters.
A senior fellow and director of military analysis at the foreign policy think tank Defense Priorities. I asked her what U.S. involvement in this conflict could actually mean.
So I think it's probable
that's right, James.
Netanyahu was hoping that if he started this war and was successful initially tactically against regime targets and other nuclear facilities, that the United States would see this as an opportunity to join in and to accomplish what has been a long-time U.S. goal of ending the Iranian nuclear program. I think it's important to note, however, that there's no guarantee that even if the United States does use these bunker buster bombs, it would finally eliminate Iran's enrichment capabilities or forever end its pathway to a nuclear bomb. That can only be accomplished by political means, not military means.
It's interesting you say that because Joe Ciricione, who is an expert on nuclear non-proliferation and all things Iran and all things nuclear program in Iran, he explained how these bunker busters actually work in any kind of attack on the Fordo nuclear site there in Iran. Here he is. Listen to this.
The first aircraft, a B-2 rather, is the only aircraft that can carry this munition, has to drop one in a precise location, followed by another B-2 who would drop another in the crater. And that might not be enough, so you might have to do it a third or a fourth time.
So, in the words of, the U.S. intelligence CIA boss
Definitely,
from back in the
Dr.
Iraq days,
Donna, no
it's not a
question.
slam
Revisionist
dunk
history.
that U.S. involvement here would actually destroy the Fordo nuclear site completely.
Certainly not with air.
Straight out of Berkeley, crazy motherfucker named Eden doesn't know what the hell she's talking about even, right, guys? Give me a bunch of ones if you like my straight out of freaking craziness. All right.
Strikes. There would have to be a ground component, some kind of ground raid, to ensure that that facility was fully eliminated and that Iran's stockpiles
I think you're right,
of
Gloria.
highly
I'm
enriched
scared for our
uranium were
country, man.
either
Especially if
rendered
you have
unusable
kids.
or inaccessible. And right now, no one is talking seriously about sending ground forces. So if we're relying only on air power, the chances are quite high that even with U.S. involvement, it would be impossible to achieve what Israel has set out as its strategic objective of eliminating, finally, this nuclear capability. And even if it was successful, if they were able to take out the facility and other facilities completely, there's still the matter of Iran's intellectual property. They figured this out once. They can figure it out again. The program might be delayed several years, even a decade. But it's only through political means and diplomacy that the challenge of Iran's nuclear weapons can be dealt with in a final and lasting way.
The Israeli military says its jets attacked the nuclear facility at Iraq, which it says Iran could have used to try to develop nuclear weapons. An Iranian state news agency says no major damage was done. I want to bring in our international security editor, Nick Payton-Walsh, joining me now. Nick, this attack was during a series of raids
Dr. Donna.
Overnight. We've seen the evidence.
Hey, Dr. Donna, and everybody else, give me a bunch of ones if you think this revisionist historian thinks that there should be tampon machines in the men's restroom. I think that give me a bunch of twos if you think that I'm a racist, bigot, and homophobe for suggesting that this revisionist historian probably is a they, them who thinks there should be tampon machines in the men's restroom. What do you guys think?
Evidence that at least the ballistic weapons capability still exists in Iran. We've seen the evidence of that where Nick is in Beersheba in Israel. So there are still military and nuclear targets, one assumes, for the IDF. From those that you are speaking to in your sources, what can we expect next from Israel in Iran, particularly based on the latest rhetoric from Israeli officials, including the defense minister?
Hey, Selwyn.
Look, I think the defense minister's comments will raise again the issue of the decapitation of the Iranian government. But I should just put in some context there that even if they did take the extraordinary decision or have the capability to kill the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, that doesn't suddenly spell an overnight end to the theocratic government of the Ayatollahs there. That he will be replaced possibly by his son, who appears to be doing some of the work already. And so it isn't a dictatorship in which the disappearance of one individual means everything crumbles. It's not Syria's Assad's Syria. And so I think it's important to put any move like that within that kind of context. It may well indeed exacerbate or, speaking to some experts yesterday, worsen the hardline nature of what Iran seeks. But it's the nature of the targets that Israel is openly talking about striking now that gives you some idea how far down their target list they necessarily are. Hitting the Arak heavy water facility, look, that's something which many experts believe was no longer involved in any potential chase of a nuclear weapon. Yes, it could have been involved in the creation of plutonium, giving another path toward the bomb, but ultimately it seems to have been inactive. So the Israelis working through potentially parts of nuclear infrastructure that people accept are not actually a potential imminent usable threat right now, potentially removing things that could be a problem down the line and removing Iran's ability to pursue anything nuclear for decades. They appear also, too, to have destroyed between a half and about 2/3 of Iran's missile launchers. So that takes out of the equation potentially the scale of the volleys that Iran can fire at Israel. What got through last night may have been a new type of device, may have been a particularly bad night for Israel's air defences. Injured at that hospital certainly too, and horrific scenes for the Israeli public. to endure, but not a marked change in the sort of lethal casualties Iran was able to inflict on Israel. So Iran clearly working with a much reduced military capability here. And so that puts into question how long, frankly, Tehran can have this conflict go on and not potentially experience some kind of existential crisis in its missile inventories, military infrastructure that keeps being hit like this, and its political command.
It's probably BZ Watchdog.
In a week since this began, they're now on their third commander of the IRGC's ground forces, the Revolutionary Guard Corps. That's the pace in which new leaders are being taken out. Unimaginable, frankly, just a month ago. And so I think many eyes now look towards tomorrow and Geneva, where the European Union's E3, as they're known, UK, France and Germany, along with the EU Foreign Policy Chief, are meeting with Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Now that may well be something which is an entire separate sideline. I was speaking to one Western diplomat who knows what's going on in those talks and said that they'd be happening in consultation with the United States. Indeed, David Lammy, the UK Foreign Secretary, I think is meeting with Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, just today, but described the talks as something which would be used to kind of feel the room and work out indeed what is possible. But I think it's possibly diplomacy here, however bad the deal Iran has to accede to is, that give them possibly a chance of slowing the Israeli onslaught. But
send me a video.
Israel having control of the skies over Iran and the ability to hit what it wants at will, why would they necessarily stop now? I think the weakness of Iran is what's going to, the dynamic that's going to dictate the duration of this.
BZ is my Marine buddy, James. You've seen him before. He's the rather rotund guy that I do shows with. He's a demo, but he's my bro. You know what I mean? That's one thing a lot of you guys who are new here, you think that I'm a Trump supporter. Look, I'm a libertarian. I think both parties suck, but I do like some of Trump's policies, but I definitely am not too thrilled about sending my Marine brothers into another freaking combat situation where all we do is make the military industrial combat complex rich. Really, really worried about that. It's pretty scary, guys. I noticed that some of my military stocks have started going up. And I'm like, man, I like making money off the stock market, but gosh, I could almost see the writing on the wall when my L3 Harris Technology stock started going up. I kind of knew there was a war coming.
Nick Payton-Walsh is our chief security editor out of London for you today. Nick, thank you.
these bunker busting bombs and how it sort of like burrows into the ground, these 30,000-pound explosive devices. Could you talk more about how that would work in this sort of situation and what it specifically needs to get to in the ground?
Yeah, some people may say, well, James. Wait a minute, the B-2 is a stealth bomber. It goes in where you have very heavy air defenses, where enemy radars would be able to see it. And so why is it being used in Iran when we know that the Israelis have taken down all of the air defense systems? That's because this MOP, this hardened penetrator that can go up to 200 feet below the ground, can only be carried by the B-2. So the B-52 has carried it before, but the weapon system itself is only certified to fly on the B-2. So this is why the B-2s had to go in to use these bunker-busting bombs. So the whole idea is that of the 30,000 pounds, only 5,000 pounds are explosives. Most of it is a very hardened case because it has to punch through rock and dirt, and it has to push all that force down many layers. It actually has a fuse that can sense going through various layers.
Yeah.
And so the idea here is that they've got to collapse those big, massive halls that we've actually seen pictures with because the IAEA has been in there. Collapse these halls and collapse dirt on top of these centrifuges that were enriching uranium.
The IAEA has only been in the bunkers that we know about. So obviously, guys, give me a break. Look, Iran they're worse liars than China, their government. Do you really think that they don't have other bunkers that are hidden somewhere else? And you don't think that they've moved their bombs and other stuff to other bunkers? I mean, you don't think that the communist Chinese haven't warned them that we're going to be dropping bombs? That's why I'm really concerned that the only way we're going to get rid of the Iranian nuclear bombs that they probably have is by sending in the Marines and probably the Green Berets, the same way we did in Afghanistan. And my biggest concern is we'll end up getting another Sleepy Joe, and then they'll surrender like they surrendered to our terrorist enemy, the Taliban, and then tried to blame Trump for that. That's another problem I have with the left, is they never take personal responsibility for anything. Oh, it's Trump's fault that Sleepy Joe surrendered to the Taliban. Give me a break. He was the president. He could have set up his own plan. He certainly shouldn't have left billions of dollars of equipment to those evil Talibans. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a racist, bigot, and a homophobe for not going along with the CNN commie news narrative. Let's keep going.
To a weapons quality capability. So it's a bomb that was developed originally.
That's true, James.
Most of the impetus was for the North Korean threat, because remember that the North Koreans also have very deeply buried capabilities in their nuclear sites, and so the U.S. said, well, we think that if we need to use this, that North Korea may be the first place we need to use it. We don't want the Kim regime to be able to continue to develop more nuclear weapons. But then they knew that Fordo was there as well. So really the only two places in the world where this weapon is appropriate and where the U.S. or any other country would need to use a hardened penetrator.
Give me a bunch of ones if you think Sleepy Joe Biden surrendering to the Taliban was the biggest geopolitical disaster in the history of known recorded history. Surrendering to the Taliban like he did and then blaming it on the previous administration. Are you kidding me? I mean, whatever happened to the buck stops here? I mean, give me a break. The way that the news media carried water for him, that tells you who runs the media, and it certainly isn't the Republicans. Let's keep going.
Would be in North Korea or Iran.
Fordo was designed to be very hard to do damage to. It's deep underground, and the Iranians clearly put it together recognizing that they might suffer the kind of attack that's happening now, and that they wanted to create a facility that would be so difficult to attack that it might survive a military assault. The Fordo facility is currently the one that's getting the most attention because Israel has already hit and done major damage to all of the other facilities that are located closer to the surface. The Fordo facility is deep underground, inside a mountain, very difficult to pinpoint exactly where you would need to do a strike. But that's where the Iranians are undertaking enrichment activities. Enrichment of uranium takes place in a gaseous form. It's called uranium hexafluoride. The real danger of the material that's at Fordo is the hexafluoride part. It's a dangerous toxin. It immediately turns into acid with the humidity in the air, and it's very toxic to humans. There's a possibility that could spread throughout the facility and perhaps harm people who are inside. If it were to get out of the mountain, though, it would be very small amounts if there were to be some kind of an attack, because the mountain would fall in on the facility. Within Iran, the facilities associated with their enrichment program are not likely to have very much radioactivity simply because uranium is not very radioactive itself. The place that I would be most worried about from a radioactive release is the operating power plant, nuclear power plant at Bushehr, that uses Russian fuel. It will have spent fuel there, which is extremely radioactive. It will also have fuel in the reactors. The areas of impact would depend upon prevailing winds at the time. It would depend on the character of the accident. That facility is probably the one place that could create a real radiological hazard. Israel seems to be well aware of—
Yeah, Gloria, if you don't like her face checking, I don't know why you wouldn't like her face checking, but clearly she's super them is really educated, right, Gloria? Face checking.
of the radiological hazard that could be posed by a strike on the Bushehr operating reactor or its spent fuel pools. And hopefully they understand that would significantly reduce any kind of public support, global support they might have for the activities they've already undertaken in Iran.
Welcome back. Israel continues to hammer Iranian nuclear sites to disable the country's atomic capabilities. So far, it's launched dozens of strikes on these facilities you see in the northern and north central parts of the country. It includes the one that is most concerning to everyone, Fordo.
I mean, so you guys kind of see my fear, right? So we know that Iran has the fissile material, and Sleepy Joe allowed at least 20 million people just to walk across our wide open border. And the ones that the Border Patrol was able to catch, they caught them and released them, right? So you don't think that there's a high statistical probability that Iran used Sleepy Joe's wide open porous border to sneak in weapons of mass destruction, maybe dirty bombs? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that Iran used Sleepy Joe's wide open porous border in violation of his oath of office to protect our country's borders to sneak in weapons of mass destruction. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a racist, bigot, and a homophobe. Let's keep going.
That site is buried deep in a mountain, about 300 feet below ground, some 60 miles outside Tehran. Taking out that facility will require a much bigger bomb than Israel has in its arsenal. The president's considering deploying a U.S. bunker buster bomb. It is capable of penetrating 200 feet underground before detonation. Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin explains. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jackie. Well, we've just learned that the USS Nimitz, the aircraft carrier strike group, will be arriving in the Middle East this weekend. That's significant in terms of any potential strike on Fordo, because on board are not only dozens of warplanes and up to 5,000 sailors, but also the very important EF-18 Growler electronic warplanes that are needed if you were to fly the B-2s over Iran. Now, here at the Pentagon, there is little doubt whether the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, or MOP, could destroy Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, buried, as you said, 300 feet under a mountain complex with layers of limestone and dolomite rock, which geologists call nature's own bomb shelter. Shown here during a test in 2018 and developed by the Air Force specifically to address Iran and North Korea's underground nuclear sites, the MOP was designed to penetrate 200 feet underground. Further, if two missiles are dropped via GPS positioning into the same hole.
Sure is a beautiful bird.
Does it have the capacity, if it's employed the correct way, to have the effect inside the mission space? Absolutely.
Retired Navy Captain Todd Sawhill oversaw the Defense Department's targeting operations, advising 5 CENTCOM commanders and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs on weapons like the MOP.
You can use a multiple hit scenario so that you have multiple impacts in the same point. You'll create a large crater, spoil will be thrown out, and it allows a pathway for the next munition to go in even deeper and farther, so that successive hits on the same point will allow increased penetration and increased lethality.
All eyes now on Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, home to the B-2 stealth bomber. The U.S. is the only military in the world with the capability to strike this buried program with a conventional weapon using its B-2 bombers, which can fly at 50,000 feet, carrying 2 massive 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. There are 2 entrances to Fordo.
If they wanted to go after the portal entrances, it's likely that...
Hey, guys, I got a breaking story coming in from the Ayatollah. Let's check him out. Let's see what the Ayatollah's got to say.
شما رو گریبان شما رو راه نخواهد کرد. همین رفتاری که تا امروز داشتید این رفتار رو با قوت ادامه بدید. کسانی که امور خدماتی به عهدهشون هست، کسانی که با مردم سر و کار دارن، کسانی که امور تبلیغاتی و تبیینی بر عهدهشون هست، کار خودشون رو با قوت انجام بدن و ادامه بدن و به خدای متعال توکل کنن. و من نصر الله من عند الله العزیز الحکیم. و خدای متعال ملت ایران رو حقیقت رو و حق رو به طور قطع و یقین پیروز خواهد کرد. انشاءالله. مطلب اولی که مایلم
Don't have a Caesar, Wassa. Come on, man.
تمجید از رفتار
I praise the behavior of our dear nation.
در این قضیه است که اخیراً
The enemies have brought on our
دشمنان در
country.
این کشور پیش برد.
The Iranian nation has shown that it's dignified. You treat your women like dog shit, so I disagree. Courageous and able to correctly assess the situation. The great movement that the people showed the world on the day of the Gadir celebration. It was a great movement. He's going to croak soon. The gatherings of people, the rallies, hanging women from cranes. Yes, you're awesome, dude. Hang your women from cranes. Great guy. They all demonstrated great growth, the strength of their rationality and spirituality. Our dear nation's courage to correctly assess the situation. I thank God for providing this faithful nation. Yeah, I'm speaking Persian. I'm interpreting. There's such a level of spiritual, material capabilities and possibilities. Praise God. Allah. I feel it's necessary here to refer to the beautiful, meaningful gesture. I know, Dr. Ghana.
اون بانوی مجری تلویزیون در مقابل حمله دشمن انجام داد.
The female television host in response saying Allahu Akbar and showing his sign
قدرت ملت رو در واقع به همه دنیا ارائه کردن.
We are defeating them. We are winning.
با ارزشی است.
We are winning. That to America.
مطلب دوم این است که این حادثه ابلهانه و خباثت آلود رژیم صهیونیستی به کشورمون در حالی رخ داد که مسئولین دولتی با طرف آمریکایی به طور غیر مستقیم و با واسطه مشغول مذاکره بودن.
Yeah, these guys are going to attack us, man. I'm telling you.
موضوعی از سوی ایران وجود نداشت که نشانه این باشه یک حرکت نظامی یا یک حرکت تندی سختی وجود داره.
سلام چطوری؟ خوبی
البته از اول حرف زده میشد که در این حرکت خباثت آمیز رژیم صهیونیستی آمریکا
Zionist regime. I mean, these guys are broken records. Zionist this, Zionist that, Allah Akbar. Come on, dude. Suspicion is growing.
ملت ایران در مقابل جنگ تحمیلی محکم میسته همچنانی که تا حالا در مقابل صلح تحمیلی
Iranian nation always firmly opposed any Iranian nation will not capitulate to any face of coercion.
این معانی رو من انتظار دارم که صاحبان فکر و صاحبان بیان و قلم بخصوص
Yeah, we got more missiles than any country, that's for sure, Tempest. Especially those who have you guys like Baghdad. Guys, hold on a minute. My Persian accent's not that good. Give me a bunch of ones if you want me to do it with the Baghdad. We are winning, Allah. Or you want me to try and do more like Persian accent so I could interpret this better? What one would you like better? One for the Arab Baghdad Bab, Allah, or two if you want me to try to talk more like Persian, so I sound more like the Ayatollah. Which ones do you like better? Two for Persian accent, or one for we are winning, we get you, Allah, or just if you want me to just interpret it in regular patriotic mic. It looks like Chevy likes Baghdad Bob better. Okay, I'll do the Baghdad Bob then, man. I'm having a hard time. I don't have the best Persian accent, man. Yellow Cat wants me to do the. All right, hold on, man. Here we go, guys.
مطلب آخر هم این که اخیراً رئیس جمهور آمریکا زبان به تهدید گوشونده.
We are a peaceful country. He has threatened us.
هم تهدید
Not only
میکنه
does he make threat, but he also uses unacceptable
با یک
rhetoric.
بیان
Not only does he make threat,
سخیف
but he
و
also
غیر
uses
قابل
unacceptable rhetoric.
قبولی از ملت ایران
Openly demand
صریحاً
that people
میخواد که
surrender
بیایید
to him.
تسلیم من بشید. وقتی انسان این چیزها رو مشاهده میکنه واقعا تعجب میکنه. اولا تهدید رو به کسی بکنن که از تهدید اونها میترسه.
First of all, they make threat against those who are afraid
ملت
of the
ایران نشان
Iranian
داده
nation,
که
not
در
threatened by
مقابل
threats. We are
تهدید
not
تهدید
threatened.
کنندگان دچار ترس نمیشه. و
Do not weaken or grieve.
لا تهینوا
You shall
ولا
have the upper
تحزنوا
hand
وانتم
if you are
الاعلون
faithful.
إن
Quran
كنتم
3139. Not
این رو بهش
39.
ملت ایران
Iranian nation
معتقده.
believe this. Trust me. Ought not I hang you from
تهدید
a
تاثیر
crane if
نمیذاره
you don't also believe.
در
And threats don't
رفتار
affect
ملت
behavior
ایران
of
در اندیشه
Iranian
ملت
people.
ایران.
Allah.
ثانیاً
Second,
اینی که به
is it
ملت
wise
ایران
to
بگم بیایید
tell
تسلیم
Iran
بشید
people to surrender?
حرف عاقلانه ای نیست. افراد با
My
خرد
people
که
know
میشناسن
Iran,
ایران رو
Iranian
میشناسن
people.
ملت ایران رو میشناسن
Iran
تاریخ
history would
ایران
never
رو
utter
هرگز
such
این حرفی
words.
رو بر زبان جاری نمیکنن.
We not do it.
تسلیم چی بشن؟ ملت ایران تسلیم شدنی نیست. ما تعرض
Hey guys, don't give Eden Star such a hard time. I mean, look, you guys know me. I like having people that are idiots on my channel sometimes just to talk nonsense, but no reason to give them a hard time. And by the way, guys, I think you guys realize by now that I'm probably a little right of Attila the Hun in a lot of the way I think, but I'm a natural law guy. I'd rather have people I disagree with on my show, because unlike most of these limousine liberals who say, "Oh, you're a liar and you don't know what you're talking about," with no evidence or facts, I'd rather have people come on and just say what they need to say, and I'll report and you decide what you want to believe, right? I'm not like CNN where I dictate how you need to think. It's your job ultimately to be a critical thinker and decide what you want to believe. And that's what I try to promote on my channel.
من به ملت عزیزمون عرض میکنم همین آیه شریفه رو همیشه در نظر داشته باشید. زندگی به حمدالله به طور عالی در جریان نگذارید دشمن احساس کنه که شما در مقابل اون دست ضعف میکنید.
My understanding is that the Ayatollah is already in Russia. So my understanding is he was flown out a couple of days ago. So if it's easy for him to say don't fear people if he's not even in his own country. Give me a bunch of ones if you think, that's right, James, let people talk. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that the Ayatollah is making this broadcast from Russia. Give me a bunch of twos if you think he's still in Iran. My thought is he's probably in Russia right now. What do you think, Chevy? Do you think that the Ayatollah is in Russia right now? Or do you think that he's actually still in Iran? Look, I know a lot of people a lot of friends of mine who are real Iranians, the one who escaped that horrible regime that Sleepy Joe and Barry Soetoro helped by giving them $400 billion to oppress their people. I know a lot of Iranians who would love to have a free Iran again. And my thought is, yeah, that's right. He's probably, so far I'm getting a bunch of ones. He's probably in Russia right now. My thought is that he's more afraid of his own people revolting than he is of America. And I honestly, knowing Iranians the way that I do, especially the ones that have come here to America, they're so grateful to come over here and have some freedom. The first thing they do is take their hijabs off. They don't want to wear that shit, guys. Women don't want to be oppressed. That's why they love coming here. Why on earth would we ever support a country? Why would any liberal support a country, want to give a country money that treats women like that? I mean, have you guys seen this whole Gays for Palestine thing? Do you guys realize that if a gay dude or a transvestite went to Palestine, that they drop them off of a building? I mean, these people are cuckoo. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that the modern liberals in this country are like mentally ill. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that I'm mentally ill. Anyways, So let me look at some of these comments. So Kinetics, you sent me an email. I'll take a look at it, brother. I am, by the way, do you guys like my new Shure microphone? I'm really digging it. Rami was telling me I need better sound. I'm hoping that you guys like it. I think that it's got a better sound to it. Hopefully I don't sound like I'm in an echo chamber anymore, but let me see here. Let me look at some of these comments here. Thanks, Yellow Cat. Let me see here. Yeah, Age Go says send the gay there. Well, I think that Iran, because they have that very similar to Afghanistan, since they're not allowed to have sex with women, I think that it's okay for them to have sex with the same sex. I'm pretty sure it's pretty normal there. I think the only way they're allowed to have sex with women is if it's in an Islamic marriage, right? So my understanding is that they're real big on men having sex with little boys. That's probably something that goes on in Iran too, is because we know that's a real big thing in Afghanistan, right? So that's probably true. You like the sound? Thanks, Yellow Cat. Kinetic says my email is input on your feed. Well, hold on. Let me just, gosh, dude, let me get the show over with, bro. And I'll just call you afterwards if that's cool. We'll be done in a little while, guys. I got to get some chow. I've been going for like almost 2.5 hours. Oh, so Mr. Count Mine 3 says sheep. Well, that's a big thing too. Yeah, we know that sheep are real big on the list of things that they like to hang out with. They like to consort with. Sorry, Gloria. I won't say it again. Sempus says, sounds like Aisha Muhammad was oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is true. I think he said that they can go as young as 6, but I think that that other one, the Jewish have one too, right? They have what's that Bible that they have? It's very similar to the Quran, where it's like it's okay to lie to anyone who's not the same religion as you, and it's okay to get it on with kids. I can't remember the name. It's called the. Somebody tell me what it is, but there's also a Jewish Bible that's basically the same thing. So. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. They both have the same religious beliefs, I think. At least that one Bible that they have. But Chevy says sheep, goat, sex with me. Yeah, right. Chevy, I love having you on my channel, dude. The problem is you never come on my channel when Chili's live, bro. Come on, you got to hang out with me more, man. Come on, homie. Oh, that's right, Gloria. Sorry. You're right. No, not the Torah. No, it's not the Torah. It's the other one. It's called the Talmud. That's right, Yellow Cat, the Talmud. The Torah is actually it's the good one. So the Talmud was actually I believe it's part of it wasn't even originally, okay, so you got to understand. So there were 12 different tribes of Israel, and there was also another country that I believe King David was ordered to destroy all of them, and he didn't. And ultimately they interbred and in violation of God's commandments. And that's where the Kabbalah comes from. And I think King Herod was one of them as well. They're called, I'll think of it in a minute, but ultimately that's what a lot of people say who are into hermeneutics and the history of what happened over there, that there was another, oh gosh, what was King Herod? It's Babylonian. That's right. It is Babylonian, but there was another, the tribe of Ben, was it? I don't know. I'm just trying to remember. I'll remember it in a little bit, guys. My hard drive's a little slow tonight, but yeah. So the Talmud allegedly comes from more of the Babylonian, the Moloch worshipers and the Baal worshipers, whereas the Torah is the true teachings of the different tribes. Then ultimately that area became Israel. And then when the Romans kicked out the Israelis, the Jews or whatever, then it was replaced by the Philistines, which I believe were the descendants of the Greeks. And then later on, they changed the name to Palestine. But historically, if you look at anything that's older than like 500 years old, it's all Hebrew. There was no Arab language spoken, Hebrew and Aramaic, right? But the modern day lefties on our college campuses, for some reason, kinetic, they keep on saying that there were Arabs and that it's Palestine, but that name didn't even exist until after the Romans conquered the Hebrews and kicked them out. And that land was all called Israel. But anyways, let's keep on listening to Baghdad Bob over here. Let's see what he's got to say.
To tell the Iranian vice people of Iran, the Iranian peoples, Iran's history would never utter such words. What should Iranian nation surrender to? Iranian nation, we haven't attacked anyone.
Okay, so guys, I mean, let's be honest. Okay, I don't care if you're a Zionist or if you are a whatever, if you hate Israel or whatever, right? Do you guys really think that this Islamic Republic of Iran hasn't been funding worldwide terrorism ever since it started? I mean, these guys are radical terrorists, man. Lobbing bombs, funding Hamas, dropping people off of buildings. I mean, these are not good. Edomite, that's right. Game over, Edomites. So that's correct. So modernly, many people believe that there are no true Jews anymore because they interbred with the Edomites against God's commandments. And that is where the Talmud comes from. It comes from that other Babylonian religion that was interbred into the modern Israeli society. And we know that a lot of them are Ashkenazi. They're actually Russians. They're not even genetically Hebrew, right? So many people that I've spoken to, and I don't know if Dr. Donna agrees, that the modern Jews are not even really genetically Hebrew. That's what I've heard, that they're not even genetically Hebrew, that most of them are Ashkenazis, Russians who adopted the Jewish religion when some Jews ended up in that area and they adopted that religion. At least that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, again, this isn't really my area of expertise, but I do know that King Herod was an Edomite. He was at least part Edomite, and that there are some Bible verses where God commanded the Hebrews not to interbreed or intermix with the Edomites, even though originally they were part of the same tribe. It's just that the Edomites adopted the Babylonian religions where they worship multiple gods and they sacrifice children to Baal and Moloch. Can anybody, the Khazars, right, Yellow Cat? Dr. Donna, I know that you're more of a historian on this stuff. Can you kind of tell us what's going on with that? I'd like to know a little bit more. So One Love says that's why no DNA tests are performed. I don't know, One Love, if that's true. And they have a rare blood type. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I am I wrong about this? I mean, I've heard this. I'm a fan of Scott Wolter from the History Channel. I've seen some stuff that he's done. But yeah, and a lot of the Arabs say, no, the modern Jews are not Hebrews. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, the Saudi princes, the Saudi kings are actually originally, they were Hebrews. Can somebody correct that for me? I read somewhere that the modern Saudi kingdom, the leaders of the Saudi kingdom are actually Hebrews. And they're probably closer to the original Hebrew DNA than the people who live in Israel today. So that's interesting if that's true. But yeah, Dr. Donna says can't spell the names correctly. Yeah, Zempa says they like worshiping to the devil. Well, yeah, that Talmud thing definitely kind of scares me. No, I didn't see what they, them said in the chat, but they, them can say whatever they want as long as my moderators don't find it offensive. Yeah, and so just so you guys know, like, I have a lot of really, really good friends who are Jewish. I guess they call themselves Jewish. And most of, because I am a lawyer, and some of the people who originally trained me were Jewish, and they were the only people who gave me a chance. So I don't have any angst against anyone based upon their religious beliefs or anything. But I think that the Islamic fundamentalists are completely out to lunch, and I don't understand why the lefties support them. Yeah. Thanks, James. But well, hey, look, they were good to me, and I don't think that I think they're more agrarian, so I don't think they really believe in the Talmud, because they've actually sat down and ate with me, and I think the Talmud says that you can't eat with the goy because we're dogs or something, right? So, but could you imagine like going to Israel and knowing that a lot of those people believe in the Talmud and they think that you're a dog? And that's the same thing in the Islamic books too. We're dogs if we don't agree with them. Pretty wild. Well, if my mods timed you out, they, them, star, that's up to them. They're my mods for a reason, and if they feel like you're getting out of control, then that's up to them. I don't have any control over my mods. I've got liberals, I've got right wingers on my channel who are mods. They're all my friends. I don't have any. I don't really care. I mean, as long as you believe that your rights come from God and not the state, that you believe in natural law and the Bill of Rights, and you're a fan of John Locke, you're always welcome to earn your place to become a moderator here. But that is really the only thing I'm concerned with, is that you believe in natural rights. And obviously, if you think that men can get pregnant, probably this isn't the right channel for you. So you might want to go somewhere else. But other than that, let's see what the Ayatollah's got to say over here. Just as it always has, the Iranian nation also firmly opposes imposed peace. The Iranian nation will not capitulate to anyone in face of coercion. I expect intellectuals, speakers, and writers. But can a woman be an intellectual, Mr. Ayatollah? Come on, be honest with us, Mr. Ayatollah. Can a woman be an intellectual in your country? Because you make them wear hefty bags and you hang them from cranes if they engage in premarital sex or they violate one of your stupid religious laws. You have your Islamic thought police roaming the streets. So, guys, do you think that this guy would allow a woman to be an intellectual? So that's where I draw the line, because from my viewpoint, women are the givers of life, and it's my job as a man to provide protection and support for my woman, because she provides the matronly love that makes it possible for me to have a family. So my job, my shield maiden is she's equal to me, but we have different roles. You know what I mean? I'm not just a traditional man. The way these guys treat their women, I have zero respect for this guy. What do you guys think? Are currently carrying out and have planned for future for this evil enemy is a severe punishment and already weakened them. Fact, American friends have never seen or saying such things. Is a sign regime's weakness and inability. Can you guys believe that Barack Obama gave this dude $400 billion and then he used a lot of that money to make bombs to drop on Israel? And this guy's over here preaching like somehow he's peaceful and that he says death to America. Look, if somebody keeps saying death to me or my family, you don't think I'm going to go and attack them at some point? Come on, give me a break. What an idiot. Globally demand Iranian people surrender to him. It's truly surprising when person hears such things. It surprised me. First, they should not make threats against those who are afraid of being threatened. Thanks, Kinetic.
نشان داده که در مقابل تهدید کنندگان دچار ترس نمیشه.
Hey, Chevy. Oh, nice, man. I'm going to check it out. Hold on. See if I can click it. I can't click the damn thing. It won't let me click it, Chevy. Thanks, Gloria. Pallets of cash, Yellow Cat.
تهدید تاثیر نمیگذاره در رفتار ملتی.
Play some tunes. I can't click on it. Hold on a minute, man. Let me. I'm looking it through YouTube, bro. Just give me 1 minute. For some reason on the stream, I can't click it.
حرف عاقلانه نیست. افراد با خرد که میشناسن ایران رو، میشناسن ملت ایران رو. میشناسن تاریخ ایران رو هرگز چنین حدی رو بر زبان جاری نمی‌کنن. تسلیم چی بشن؟ ملت ایران تسلیم شدنی نیست. ما تعرض به کسی نکردیم و به هیچ وجه تعرض احدی رو هم قبول نمی‌کنیم.
Give me 1 second, Chevy.
تعرض هیچ کس نمی‌شیم. منطق ملت ایران.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a break from this freaking this sheep burglar, and we're gonna play something from Chevy. Hold on, Chevy. We're gonna play some Chevy music. You guys ready? Hold on. Make sure we're all set up. All right, guys, we're gonna play some Chevy music. As you guys know, Chevy is one of the best musicians that I've ever met in my life. He's a true homeboy. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna rock out to some cool Chevy music. Stand by, platoon, A-10.
Stand still, elbow to elbow. Come on, little doggies, roll call. JC, Julian Perez, what's the matter? Chevy. Jody Sheila, La Funda, the microscope. Donald Hill, Shed Baker, JC, JTD. Marine Corps, Kansas, singing, running, march, Camarada, Ray, Jody's marching songs with the motivation. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, hip hop. Wake up, son, before the sun. Got PT gear, the day's begun. No time for slack, no time for play. Gotta be strong in every way. This ain't no game, this is real life's fight. Gotta be ready day and night. Simplify, that's the creed. Live every ounce of strength. You gotta give 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, hip hop. Oh, do or die.
Do or die. Hoorah.
Fortune, iron come, what may. Forget the schools.
Come on, Forbes, get into it, bro.
Homeschool or you lose
Come on, Ryan Lab.
Train that mind, train the fist like a true warrior, you must exist. Train your son like my monster, hear my command, the toughest marine this whole damn land. Thunder, training for judo competition.
Judo, man. Let that throw down. No yoga pants, man. No.
Ooh, no parts in trapeze here. Trophies here, only victory. Crystal clear, push past the pain. Ignore the doubt. Let your inner devil dog shout. We build them tough, we build them right. Ready for any damn fight. No room for idle channel, wasted breath. Even you, Chevy, better pay heat, not death. Oh, do or die.
Do or die.
That's the only force that iron come what may.
Get motivated right
with the liberal eyes. Oh, what's I'ma tell you, no, the score, no slacking off, no wanting more. Chevy, stand tall, keep your head up high. We're building leaders, reaching for the sky when discipline's needed. Don't you stall, remember the legend, standing tall. That force of nature that I will not kick down. Massive gunner on the hill, show 'em your grit,
Yeah.
show 'em your might. Win every battle, day
Hell
and
yeah.
night. Ooh, ooh. Do or die.
Do or die. Yeah, Chevy, this is got in the song, dude. Hell yeah.
Forget the schools with the liberal eyes. Homeschool or you lose, open your eyes. Train that mind, train the fist like a true warrior, you must exist. Train your son like my monster, hear my command, the toughest marine in this whole damn land. Training for judo competition.
Judo competition. Get that throw. Hell yeah. Grab that lapel and get a. Yeah.
Ooh, Jody Sheila, keep the spirit strong where you belong, where you belong. Don't remember what I've said. Clear your mind, clear your head. Semper Fi until the end. My discipline set my
yeah.
trusted friend. Hoorah! Hop, hop at the cop, move on. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, that was sick, man. All right. So, sorry, just lost my mind just for a minute. Let me see if I can find any stuff for you guys about. Oh God, if you guys ever heard Steve Martin, that guy, man, he was the best. My dad was a big time Steve Martin guy. Yeah, he had that one joke. Excuse me, just lost my mind just for a minute. It's pretty funny. Let's see what's going on. Let me see if I can see any live stuff coming in about did we or did we not use Moabs. Here we go. Okay, so I'm looking. Okay, let's take a look here. So this is a problem. Let's take a look. So here's what the breaking news is. Thousands protest in Tehran against Israel Netanyahu. So let's see what's going on. This is scary, guys, because I honestly think if Biden and Obama had given these guys money, that the Iranian people would have already overthrown their government over there. And now what has happened is these radical fundamentalist Muslims probably just guaranteed that their own population will never overthrow them. Because let's face it, when someone attacks your country, even if you hate your government, you're going to fight for your country. That's just the nature of human being. We're tribal animals, guys. Let's check it out.
This is it. It can end here. Or if you make the wrong choice, it won't. But that message is being repeated by regional partners who are in touch with the Iranians, I understand. And the
Thanks, Kevin.
Objective is to counter and contain that escalation risk.
Brett, just one final question.
Chevy's the man.
The decision-making, Supreme Leader has oversight and kind of a big picture. Given, I assume, his security requirements right now of trying to not get...
Sorry, you guys have to listen to this fruitcake. Unfortunately, Communist News Network is the only station I could find that's talking about this, but I'll try to find someone who's not a complete moron like this guy. And you guys realize I get more views on my channel than CNN. That tells you how popular the Communist News Network is. And I don't want to give these guys any airtime, but let me just see if I can find us a better channel to watch. Hold on.
Get killed and probably making communication difficult. How long do you expect? I mean, who makes those decisions? And it's not like they can all go to the Situation Room and now just discuss it like they would at the White House. I assume this is more laborious now to communicate between the Supreme Leader and the various people in the Revolutionary Guard and elsewhere who are still alive. How long do you think it takes to make a decision?
Okay, so are you guys done listening to Myth or Weth Hollywood? Let's get into some better news. Okay, hold on. I found another one talking about, it looks like, this looks bad, guys. It says Iran bombards Tel Aviv for the 4th time with hypersonic missiles. So do you guys know what hypersonic missiles are? So apparently it's this missile that can travel at like 4,000 miles per hour, and there's no known defense to it. So where do you guys think they got the hypersonic missiles from? China, hello. China and Russia, part of this BRICS currency system. I told you guys earlier, I think the real reason for this war is because China, Russia, Iran, and a couple other BRICS countries are trying to wipe out the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And how are they going to do that? By returning to a gold and silver based currency, which is what our Constitution requires us to do. See what I mean, guys? Like, they're not stupid. They're doing what our founding fathers told us we're supposed to do. Well, anyways, let's take a look. Hypersonic missiles leveling Tel Aviv right now as we speak. Let's check it out.
المزيد من الانفجارات والآن هذه كلها صواريخ باليستية أو صواريخ كبيرة تطلق على القبل الإيرانيين قريبة جدا على مدينة القدس. انظر إلى هذا الوميض دفاعات جوية كبيرة جدا.
Yeah, I heard that too, right?
على الهواء مباشرة وذلك في محاولة ليست القبة الحديدية هذا أشبه بالعدوية وذلك بسرعتها. هذا صاروخ باليستي.
Right Stuff is saying that lasers can intercept these hypersonic missiles, but if that's the case, bro, why aren't they doing it? We have the technology. We do have those lasers on those airplanes. Why aren't we taking them out? I just don't get it. See, what you're saying makes me think other things like, Is this being done on purpose to suck us into World War III? Is our government or the CIA or someone allowing Israel to get leveled to gain sympathy with the United States so we'll put boots on the ground in Iran? Is this really about protecting the United States currency as the world's reserve currency system? And does it have anything at all to do with the stated reasons? I mean, this is why I like having What's the Matter You on my channel, because he gets me thinking about stuff like this. Because, I do tend to be pretty dogmatic in my thinking, but it's nice to get a differing point of view. And then, like, sometimes I'll have an epiphany and go, wait a minute, these guys have a point. That's why it's really important not to just hang out with people who think like you. That's probably the stupidest thing you could ever do. Give me a bunch of ones if you think the stupidest thing you can do is hang out with people that agree with everything you agree with. Because you never grow as a person if you do that. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a racist, bigot, and a homophobe. All right, let's watch. Gosh, look at those things. They go ballistic like in the upper atmosphere. I don't see their big dome thing shooting artillery shells at those. I just see hypersonics coming in and just blasting the town. Man, this is scary, dude. Look at that. Could you imagine, like, you're just like smoking and joking, hanging out in your house, and all of a sudden these things just come and land on you? They look like shooting stars, don't they? Wow. Why aren't we shooting these things down, guys? What is going on? What's going on? You're right, Rami. We've got to question everything. That's right, brother. Yeah. Well, they, them, star, if you're being an a-hole, my moderators will time you out. I don't time anybody out. I rely on my people to do that. And they all have differing views, as you can see. Like, What's the Matter You doesn't agree with me on most things, but he's still my homeboy. So don't assume it's me. And don't assume it's some dogmatic right-wing conspiracy, because I would say probably 80% of my channel are pretty liberal. Just they're patriots, though. Unlike people like you who probably think that there should be tampon machines in the boys' restroom. That's probably why they're timing you out, because there's certain things that just go against the laws of nature and of nature's God. Look at that. Is that Tel Aviv, guys? She looks Israeli. Do they even allow female cops in Iran? Does anybody know if they have female police in Iran? My guess is they'd probably allow a goat to be a police officer before they allow a female to be a police officer in Iran. Yeah, that's right, Rami. Peas and carrots. Nah, James, what's this cool, man? You just got to get to know him and like hear what he has to say and like sleep on it, because sometimes you'll get a, you'll be, wow, you might have a point, So is that Tel Aviv? Does anybody know? Holy crap, look at that. Jeez. Now, are those hypersonic missiles, or is that part of their dome thing where they're shooting artillery? Does anybody know? Yeah, it says Tel Aviv up in the corner there. I'm just curious, like, what the heck is going on? Mind-blowing, guys. Insane in the membrane. Wow. Okay, that's a vapor trail from a hypersonic, it looks like. Dude, can you guys believe they're blasting hypersonic missiles into Israel? I don't even think the Israelis have hypersonic missiles. So Yellow Cat says that's a Patriot missile system. Okay, so you're saying that those are Patriots and those are not incoming, so that's outgoing? I mean, but still, dude, whoa. If my thought is whoa, that was incoming. See, my thought is that all that anti-aircraft artillery, it's gonna fall. Oh man, I don't wish that on anybody. That's terrible. Okay, so it looks like they're trying to shoot missiles down. But even that artillery, all that stuff falls down. It's gonna land on something, right? Okay, that's outgoing right there for sure. But what goes up must come down, so that's landing on top of people's homes and buildings. Okay, that shot something down. Oh, that's incoming, guys. So what's the deal? Somebody narrate this for me. It looks like they're trying. Okay, that looks like they hit something. Boom, boom. So I saw the other day that China is flying in missiles to Iran. So it looks like China's given them these missiles. Got it. So they're trying to take out the launchers. Yeah, that was a hypersonic. I think so. Damn, dude. That's a lot of missiles. So do you guys really think that we're going to be able to stop Iran without invading them? I don't. I think that this is going to end up being a full land invasion. I think they're going to block the Strait of Hormuz and cut off all the oil supply. If I were you guys, I'd invest in as much UVIX as you could, if you can still get it cheap. How much do you guys want to bet Monday morning that UVIX is going to be going for between $60 to $100 a share? I think it could hit 200. I mean, if I had some money right now to buy some options and it was trade day, I'd get a bunch of UVIX options with a strike price of like $50, man. This is crazy. Once the oil supply is cut off, dude, we're looking at some serious trouble. Yeah, I don't know, Zempest. I think they're already doomed. I think it's just a matter of time. Doing this right here, I mean, I would say like most of our politicians and the people who run our administrative agencies are dual national Israelis. You don't think that they're not going to want to invade Iran? Come on. Yeah, that's true, Rami. Well, you can cash in on it too. Buy some UVIX. I mean, I do have like 3,000 shares of UVIX. I paid like $25 for it. I'll probably be able to make like 50, 60 grand if I sell it tomorrow. It's like a 2 times leveraged ETF. It's something to check out. So the VIX is the fear and greed index. The higher the fear, the higher the VIX goes up. They bet against the stock market. So, and if you know how to do options trading, you could do some call options on that and probably make $1 million if you've got like 50 to 100,000 to invest in some call options. But still, man, some scary stuff. Well, does anybody give me a bunch of ones if you guys believe that Iran doesn't have nukes? I think they've had nukes for years. Of course they do. And I think they may have smuggled some suitcase nukes into this country. That's what I'm concerned about. Give me a bunch of 2s if you believe anything that our intelligence says. Give me a bunch of 1s if you don't believe anything that our intelligence agencies say. Common sense tells me they've got nukes. If you've got the fissile material, you're friends with Pakistan, you're friends with China, Russia. You don't think they're helping these guys build nukes? We've been at a war with Russia for the last 3 or 4 years, right? Literally, longer than that, like 5 or 6 years, we've been in a proxy war with Russia. You don't think that Russia is going to help Iran build nukes and use Iran as their proxy? Come on, man. The Russians don't mess around. They want revenge for us funding the Ukrainian war. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Yeah, YouTube hates my community for sure. That's a fact. Hey, Rami, you got to help me. You got to help me build a backup channel, dude. I've been getting all kinds of crap coming my way, man. My problem is that I just call them like I see them, and the powers that be that run this channel, that run this company, this corporation, definitely don't like me. You know, Yellow Cat, I want to feel that way too. So Yellow Cat says we have no business telling Iran that they can't have nukes. But my issue with that is these are the same people who say death to America all the time. And so that scares me. Somebody who said, like, if somebody like literally told you every day that they death to your family, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of guy that would be going on some freaking special ops missions. Somebody says death to my people, because to me, you guys are all my family, right? Like even this they them. Hey, what's going on, BZ? Even this they them that's over there telling me you're a liar. You know, that's just like a Thanksgiving dinner for me in my family. Like, we're all still Americans first. Give me a bunch of ones, America first, guys. America first. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that we're not America first and that we should all be divided along ideological lines. Hey, Kevin, good seeing you, man. Yeah, we don't know a lot about what's going on. Russia's definitely not our friend, James, and they never have been. Pretty scary stuff. But we know that the Russians hate the Jews, and that I think they killed more Jews than the Nazis. And so the Israelis really hate the Russians. And we know that in my opinion, this whole Ukraine thing is basically it's Israel and the United States being used as a proxy to test weapons, using Ukraine as a proxy to test our weapon systems, getting ready for a war against China, ultimately, because China's trying to change the world currency system. I believe, and give me a bunch of ones if you agree, that this is really about China trying to replace the Federal Reserve note as the world's currency system with the BRICS currency, and that's what this is really about. And Yellow Cat, Russia is no longer communist. That is true, but they still don't like America. I mean, Putin was a hardcore Soviet commie, right? KGB. So, and a lot of the hardliners in their current government want to return Russia back to that Soviet empire, right? So naturally, they're gonna prop up Iran and try to help them build nukes, so they can sneak one across. They may have already snuck one across under Sleepy Joe's wide open border, where he was ordering the Border Patrol to help illegal aliens invade our country. Thanks a lot, Sleepy Joe. Oh, you got another one? You got another song for me? You got another song for me, Chevy? Dude, I can't do any more dancing, man. I just inflamed my whole left leg doing that. As you guys know, I've got sciatica, and I just really hurt my back. You're going to call it a night, Gloria? Give me a bunch of ones for Gloria, guys. I'll probably call it pretty quick here too, guys. I'm getting pretty tired. So I've been working on a slideshow for you guys about the Chinese interference with the election that got Sleepy Joe into power. Hundreds of thousands of driver's licenses that they flooded our country with so they could help Sleepy Joe rig the last election. Kash Patel was able to get the receipts for us, and he just declassified those documents, and I'm going to do a show about it. Love you, Gloria. I really appreciate you supporting Team MPE and helping me moderate. Timothy says, I'm so proud of our president, how he handles the danger. Hold on, let me see what he's got to say. How he handles the danger of Islamic extremist country who would use nukes the minute they had them. Dude, I think they've got nukes, man. And I think they may have snuck some of them across the border when Sleepy Joe just allowed 20 million illegals to illegally invade our country and immediately get free everything out of your paycheck. So I don't think this is by any stretch of the imagination over. And if I was you guys, I'd buy as much UVix as you could get your hands on while it's still cheap.
We're here in
because I think it's going to go through the roof, and you could probably all get rich off of it.
A civilian
Good night,
area
Gloria.
That was attacked by the Iranian regime. and destroyed a lot of buildings and hurt innocent civilians who were sitting in the houses,
Of course they do,
eating their
Yellow Cat.
Shabbat
The
meals.
Democrats do love the Chinese.
And suddenly a missile hit their
Censorship,
house.
silencing your
and
opposition.
some of them were injured,
That's
some of them
all
are
about.
trapped.
Absolutely.
And we are here to rescue them and take them out.
Google helped China build their surveillance system, which California wants to use on the California citizens, which Canada uses on their citizens now. Communist China and the left are all buddies. Absolutely. Love you too, honey. Have a great evening. Let's see here.
I can tell you that we do have a number of injured, but I can't go into detail of the exact number or the exact location, as I said. What I can also tell you, though, is that the Israel Police Bomb Disposal Units are here on this site and multiple other sites. They're some of the
Basement
best in the world.
Biden, yeah.
We're doing
Basement
everything
Biden,
possible
that's
to
right.
ensure the safety of the
You've
public.
got it covered,
We
of
just
course.
ask for the
Total
public's
rigged
cooperation.
election,
Do
no
your
question.
part. Your responsibility can save your life
Many
and other lives
countries,
as well.
so many countries around the world never like America. That is true. A lot of countries don't like us. Yeah, no question about it. Hey, Donna. Yeah. Oh, really, Kevin? Gosh. All right. Yeah, guys. You know, what do you think? I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm getting pretty tired. What time is it over here? It's freaking. Oh gosh, it's already 10:30. Yeah, I got to get some chow. Yeah, he was definitely a puppet, James. But you know, what's the matter? You would say they're all puppets. But Sleepy Joe was an absolute abomination to this country, a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And the way the commie press held water for him, the guy had dementia before he even ran for president. Complete blithering idiot, disgrace to this country. So glad he's out of there. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I'm pretty doggone tired. Let me. All right, guys. So I hope you guys had a good time tonight. I think that. I hope I was able to put a different perspective on why this war is happening. And I'm hoping that you guys will probably buy some UVIX first thing you can on Monday, maybe even get some call options. I think this will be one of the last chances you're going to have to really get some Federal Reserve notes in your pocket. I think this is a big deal. All right, I'm the commander. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I really do appreciate y'all. Zempus, 130, wow. Yellow Cat, I really appreciate you. Rami, thanks again, man. Hopefully I can give you a ring tomorrow, bro. And Kinetic, I'll take a look at my emails too, brother. And Chevy, thank you so much for supporting my channel, dude. It means a lot to me. Doing these shows, it's a lot of time, a lot of effort. And I'm by no means getting rich doing this. You know, I could have worked on a couple of files tonight, made a few $1,000. So this is really just me trying to have some friends and have some fun. You know, that's really what it's all about, man. I just like having a good time. And hopefully you guys had a good time too. And by the way, guys, I got the new Shure microphone. I hope you guys like it. I feel like when I listen to it tonight in stereo, I'll let you know what I think, but it seems like you guys dig it. So, guys, have a blessed evening. If you have kids, make sure to tuck them in tonight. Get out to the Army Navy surplus, get as many non-perishable edible items as you can. BZ Watchdog, get over to the pharmacy and get some edibles for yourself as well. And what's the matter you if you're still around? Thank you again, brother, for sticking it out with me tonight and bringing differing views to the channel so we can all not just be dogmatic fools. And with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die.